Good morning, 5 o'clock. Welcome into your Good Friday. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The estranged husband who was wanted in the stabbing death of a Nashville school custodian has now been arrested. 52-year-old Candido Rubio Perez taken into custody outside a high-rise apartment complex about 6 o'clock last night in Madison. He's accused of stabbing his wife in the parking lot of the Chadwell Elementary School on Monday as she arrived for work in the early morning hours. At the state capitol, Democrat lawmakers upset after Republicans who helped push through legislation, or so-called whips, received actual whips as gifts. Democrats calling it racist and inappropriate. But Republicans have pushed back. Representative Jeremy Faison.
Would y'all like to see a picture of Nancy Pelosi when she became the whip and she's got a great big whip and she's sharing it?
I guess
listen, when you can't find racism and you can't prove that it's happened, then you just make stuff up. That's absolute foolishness and asinine them to put that on any of our deputy whips and say this has anything to do with bigotry or racism. Foolishness on their part.
In all, 6 deputy whips were appointed by House Majority Whip Johnny Garrett of Goodlettsville, who handed out those whips engraved and encased in glass. Well, that wasn't all. Democrats are crying foul over the use of a House rule to limit debate and call for a vote on a bill that ends DEI in government and public colleges and universities. House Majority Leader William Lambert.
By the way, if DEI stood for diversity, excellence, and inclusion, it'd be perfectly fine. But it stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is a communist socialist principle that is racist in its very core.
Democrat Sam McKenzie of Knoxville's response.
What are you talking about? Socialism, communism. He's throwing words out there. It's like woke. He's showing you all shiny objects to get off the fact that he manipulated this process today because he didn't want to hear the truth.
That measure passed the House vote last night, and it heads to the Senate for a vote today. Market numbers now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
Major indexes were mixed on Thursday trading. The Dow was down 527 points at close. The S&P 500 rose 7 points. The Nasdaq lost 21 points. Shares of United Health Group had their worst performance in decades, plunging after profit and revenue reports fell short of expectations. The insurer also slashed its financial forecast for this year. Shares of chipmaker NVIDIA sank on news that exports limits to China could shrink first quarter results by $5.5 billion. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Well, stock futures appear to be on a losing run. We've got the Dow futures down 455 this morning. However, the Nasdaq futures are on the plus side by 42. S&P 500 futures are up by 20. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Looks like crews are clearing out an accident in Madison on Maya Drive south of Spring Branch Road. And the major roads look pretty clear heading into Nashville so far. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.506, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. How are you? Now, Joan, I know that every Friday is good, but today is like a gooder Friday.
Well, okay, you could call it that, sure.
Yeah, it's gooder.
It's Good Friday.
It's good for thanks, guys.
I told you.
A solemn day, Dan.
So
I warned him not to say that.
Oh, man.
it was a joke.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, so Good Friday to everyone. And Sunday is, of course, Easter. Looking forward to the Easter festivities in my house. Hope you have a good Easter as well. There is a lot. You know, it's been 3 months, Joan, since Donald Trump was took the oath of office.
It's been, they've jammed 5 years into 3 months.
It has been crazy.
Yes. The compactness of how much has happened is just overwhelming when you think about it.
By the way, and we're going to get into this at 5:35, but when you absolutely made my day when you played the audio of Jeremy Faison,
yeah,
basically giving the middle finger to the what is it, the Black Caucus, in the Tennessee State House, and these people, and let's just all be, and we'll talk about this at 5:35. But they find racism in literally everything.
Every corner.
So I like that Jeremy Faison basically tells them to go stick it. And I love that. So I'm going to try to get Jeremy Faison on today. He traditionally, for whatever reason, won't come on this show. I'm going to try to get him on, though.
Want to hear him?
No, we'll do it at 5:35.
Okay. You got it.
But I love what he had to say, and we'll do that again at 5:35. But we do know that Donald Trump, now basically his third month in office, and I almost said his third year, because as we were talking about, Joan, it feels like a lot of stuff has been compacted into the first 3 months. I mean, obviously, I think right now his biggest accomplishment, among many, but his biggest accomplishment is the border is in incredibly good shape. Now, that is perhaps his biggest accomplishment. I would say other people might perhaps disagree with that, but it seems to me if you're a Trump supporter, that would be his biggest accomplishment. He's deported all of those illegal alien gangbangers, of course.
At our southern border, southwest border crossings in March fell to the lowest level in American history, down 94% from March of last year under President Biden, when 137,000 illegal aliens poured across our wide-open southern border.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that is huge. And the battle on the border, of course, does continue. But now the conversation is, what about all of these illegals in this country currently? Well, again, that battle does continue. But there's still a lot going on the southern border.
The Los Angeles Times captured the Trump effect on the border with a recent article. Their headline read, "California-Mexico border, once overwhelmed, is now nearly empty." With so few migrants coming into the U.S., they wrote, "Shelters that once served migrants have completely closed."
Yeah, Caroline Levitt. And everybody knows the massive amount of accomplishments with Donald Trump on illegal immigration. So that is great news. Again, obviously, the media continues and the left continues to scream about some aspects of the battle against illegal immigration. They have clearly, of course, as we all know, and we've been talking about, they have sided with the illegals. He's still got a lot of deportations to go because we know that the sanctuary cities have been battling Donald Trump at every turn. Again, taking the side of the illegal aliens. We know that the American people, and I've played audio from this, and we've gone over the polling together, vast majority of the American people who voted for Donald Trump love what he's doing. Other accomplishments, Doge. Of course, Doge and Elon Musk, my opinion, huge accomplishment. According to the Doge website, they have saved $155 billion, or they figured this out, $962 per taxpayer. Now, equally as important is that they've exposed, and I think this is definitely equally as important, is that they have exposed all of the waste and fraud that was being done, especially under the Biden administration, as spoken about by Elon Musk.
I mean, the fraud we're seeing is overwhelmingly on the left. These NGOs are almost all left-wing NGOs that are being funded, for example. They hate me because Doge is being effective, and Doge is getting rid of a lot of waste and fraud that people on the left were taking advantage of. That's what it comes down to. This is the thing why they really hate my guts and want me to die.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's so funny is that when he says hates my guts and wants me to die, he's not being, he's not exaggerating. He's not being facetious. Literally, they want Elon Musk to die. Remember the protests. Remember the attacks on Teslas. Remember the attacks on Tesla owners. The attacks on dealerships, firebombing dealerships. All because Elon Musk was out there trying to save our money and exposing the waste and the fraud. Now, with all of these accomplishments that I'm talking about right now, again, the purpose of this segment is talking about the big accomplishments of Donald Trump 3 months in. And there's been a lot of them. I've only got, each segment is like, 15 minutes, 14, 15 minutes, whatever it is. I've only got 15 minutes, and I really could devote literally an entire show to the accomplishments of Trump in the first 3 months. And realize with every accomplishment that we're talking about, there's the other side. There is the fact that there is the Democrats and the media who are fighting Donald Trump at every turn. For example, keeping biological men out of women's sports. I mean, this obviously is huge.
I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated that we have to be here, that we as women have to stand before you all on national television demanding equal opportunities, demanding privacy in areas of undressing, demanding safety in our sports. Amazing to me that we are still here fighting this fight.
Yeah, that's Riley Gaines. And of course, we're dealing with the very much predicted legal challenges to Donald Trump's executive order, keeping men out of women's spaces and keeping men out of women's sports. And she was, of course, Middle Tennessee's own Riley Gaines. She's been out there fighting this fight, and she and Donald Trump won, with Donald Trump signing that executive order, protecting women and protecting women's sports. And again, Democrats keep fighting it. Of course, the tariff battle does continue as well. It is early. And I know about the markets. The tariff battle does go on. It is early, but we have seen some dividends. We know that NVIDIA, Hyundai, Apple, Honda, many other companies saying that they are going to move some manufacturing operations here. Now, that is obviously good news, because what that does, as they try to avoid Donald Trump's tariffs, they're creating American jobs. They are helping America's economy. They are helping your economy, because what that does is that creates actually more of a taxpayer base for our own economy. Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary.
For the next 4 years, the Trump agenda is focused on Main Street. It's Main Street's turn. It's Main Street's turn to hire workers. It's Main Street's turn to drive investment. And it's Main Street's turn to restore the American dream.
Yeah, and by the way, speaking of tariffs, speaking of all the negotiations, speaking of what's going on, I don't know if you saw this, but Italy's prime minister was in Washington, D.C. yesterday. Really, really interesting part of the storyline. I've got that coming up next. It is 5:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
They are, still working on that spot this morning. An accident earlier at Maya Drive in Madison, just south of Spring Branch Road. It's being cleaned up. It'll be out of there soon. But we also have a stalled out car in Cool Springs. It's blocking the right shoulder of 65 southbound near Moores Lane, exit 69. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
Friday today, high of 85 and sunny. Saturday, a high of 87, partly cloudy. On Sunday, a high of 86 under partly cloudy skies. 63 degrees. It felt good walking out of the house this morning. 63 at Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Did you see Georgia Maloney yesterday, Joan? She was awesome. She was with President Trump. They had a good, long conversation. And she says, and she's talking about taking Donald Trump, inviting Donald Trump to Rome to have a big conversation about all of these tariffs.
I think he just wants to go to Rome.
You think he just wants to go to Rome?
Who wouldn't? I mean, really.
Yeah, but she was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, she really was, and Trump showed her the ultimate respect. But when we look at our economy, and I've got some great audio from her coming up. When we look at our economy, we have jobs up, inflation down, spending up, and I'm talking about consumer spending is up, gasoline prices down, investment in America up. So we have all of these things that are going on in America related to our economy. And again, I know people are watching the markets. I also fully understand that the numbers and the storyline that I just gave you about inflation down, jobs are up, gasoline prices are down, investment in America is up, consumer spending is up as well. I know that a lot of that data does not include what is going on right now with the markets and the tariffs. Some does, some doesn't. Bottom line is, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Trump has always been honest. Scott Bessent has always been honest. And he has said, there is going to be short-term pain. This has got to be long-term gain. This is a long-term play. Now, we do have a long way to go as we deal with China. But Europe is coming along. They want to negotiate with Donald Trump. Yesterday, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni was in Washington, D.C., and she had some good things to say about Donald Trump.
I know that when I speak about West, mainly I don't speak about a geographical space. I speak about a civilization. And I want to make that civilization stronger. So I think even if we have some problems, between the two shores of the Atlantic, it is the time that we try to sit down and find solutions. So I want to thank President Trump for having accepted an invitation to pay an official visit to Rome in the near future, and consider the possibility in that occasion to meet also with Europe. The goal for me is to make the West great again. Okay, and I think we can do it together.
And she talked about, making the West great again. She wasn't talking about geographic locations. She was talking about policies and civilization. And so she's talking about Europe, she's talking about America, and so forth. And so, yes, what she is doing is she is inviting Trump and the rest of Europe to Rome to work out tariff deals and everybody get on the same page. And I love that. She showed Donald Trump respect because he deserves it, and Trump showed her respect as well. I wish I had the audio. The audio wasn't very good, but I don't know if you saw this.
It's hard to understand her, too.
It is a little hard to understand her, but here's what I liked about what went on. One of the reporters in the White House press pool asked what she thought of Donald Trump calling Europeans or Europe parasites. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't.
A troublemaker, if I've ever seen one, in the White House press corps. And Trump, basically, she looks at Trump and she said, "Did you say that?" And Trump said, "No, I have no idea what he's talking about." And everybody moved on. I don't know if Donald Trump ever did call anyone parasites. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But both Meloni and President Trump handled that. Could have been a very awkward moment. Handled it very well. Look, we know that Donald Trump says things. They have also, the European leaders, have said a lot of things about Donald Trump. But here's the deal. There's a lot of things that he has been saying about China, although the big news from one of the press conferences yesterday is that it looks like China is now reaching out.
I have a very good relationship with President Xi, and I think it's going to continue. And I would say they have reached out a number of times. I mean, a lot, all the time. We're talking. I believe we're going to have a deal with China. And if we don't, we're going to have a deal anyway, because we're going to set a certain target, and that's going to be it.
Okay, so I know what the parasites thing is.
Oh, okay, go.
So in that leaked signal chat, now this is according to Grok, because I Ask Grok everything now. In that
You're
signal,
welcome, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Pete Hegseth apparently said he described Europeans as parasites in discussions about Yemen strikes. According to reports, Trump himself wrote in the chat, "I agree they are parasites, but they have been for years. But I don't blame them. I blame Biden," in reference to trade and tariffs.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that's what they're talking about.
I don't know if he was he talking about European leaders? Who was he talking about? Trump?
It's not clear from this.
Yeah.
It has to be leaders because he's talking about conversations around trade and tariffs. So I'm sure that's what he's talking about.
Take it with a grain of salt. It's from a text, quote unquote. We don't even know if it's from him or not. I mean, that's such
right.
That's, yeah. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt.
Absolutely right. All right, 5:21. On Nationals Morning News. Got a lot more straight ahead. Joan, what's coming up in the news at 5:30?
So is the U.S. ready to wash its hands of the Russia-Ukraine conflict? It appears so. Also, a local fulfillment center is closing and hundreds of employees are about to be laid off. We've got those stories and more coming up here at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
526. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Did you folks, by the way, just real quick, did you see the press conference with this Carmelo Anthony's attorney?
I'm appalled.
What a complete and utter train wreck is the only thing I can say. I mean, there's so many things, and I've got all of these audio bites that I'm gonna play coming up in the 6 o'clock hour, because this attorney for Carmelo Anthony, number one, Dominique Alexander, dude's a shyster if I've ever seen one. He is clearly a modern day Jesse Jackson or an Al Sharpton, one of these kinds of things. He is with the New Generation Action Network, right?
Oh boy.
Yeah. Man, was he playing the race card yesterday? Oh, Lord. But you know what else he did? Need some audio, Jeff. What else he did? I thought this was bizarre. He blamed the weather. This is what he said.
Superintendent or one single board of trustee, why didn't you cancel or postpone? With weather in that magnitude, you couldn't have a track meet in rain or thunderstorm or clouds. Y'all are the media. Ask your journalists, your weather journalists, how the weather was that day and that time. Y'all do that research.
So I get. Is he literally like blaming the weather?
So when Stefano DiPietro does the weather, does he say, "Warning: when it rains, you might stab someone"?
That
Good one, KJP.
Yeah, that is. I mean, but it's true. It's like, okay, so he blames. It sounds like he's trying to blame the weather. He, of course, again played the race card ad nauseum. And this guy is truly, and by the way, he himself is a convicted felon. I mean, if you want a shyster, if you want the epitome of a shyster, race-baiting, convicted felon, no credibility attorney, this is it. This is absolutely it. And so I'm going to play you the audio. Probably I'll lead off the 6 o'clock hour with it. I may play a couple of sound bites. But when I was watching this, and I just couldn't believe that he got up in front of a podium in front of the media and said some of the things that he said, which basically he's trying to portray Carmelo Anthony and his family as the victims. And it's like, are you kidding me? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but that's the card that they're going to, it would appear, play. And can I just tell you something? I think this might get really ugly in Texas. I think this might get real ugly. I hope that it doesn't. But the rhetoric that this lawyer, Dominique Alexander, was throwing down yesterday during this press conference, where he effectively was victim blaming, in my opinion. This could get nasty, and this could get really bad in North Texas. I hope that it doesn't. And I really, truly hope that the rhetoric calms down. But right now, it's going to get ugly. And I'll tell you why coming up in the 6 o'clock hour. Got a lot more straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 5:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're at 63 degrees now. We'll get sunshine. Listen to this, an 85 for your Good Friday. Breaking news this morning, Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying that the U.S. is ready to move on if it becomes clear within the next few days that peace is not achievable between Russia and Ukraine. The comments come a day after he and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff met with the European and Ukrainian allies. And it also comes after Russia launched a missile attack on Ukraine overnight, hitting a residential neighborhood in the city of Kharkiv. Florida Senator Rick Scott visiting Tallahassee Memorial Hospital yesterday, where some of the victims of the Florida State University school shooting were transported. Scott met with some of those victims.
They clearly have injuries, and they're very upbeat, and they're very comfortable that this hospital is going to take care of them.
2 people were killed, 6 others were hurt. The gunman is the son of a sheriff's deputy. The Saks Fifth Avenue Global Fulfillment Center in Laverne is scheduled to close at the end of June. Now, 446 people who work there have been notified they're being laid off. That decision comes nearly a year after Saks' parent company announced a merger with fellow Luxe brand Neiman Marcus. And a middle school student decided to get the weekend started early, leaving class at Christian County Middle School in Kentucky and stealing a car belonging to an employee in the parking lot. That student didn't get too far down the road before being stopped. The student was 12 years old. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Pretty quiet to start us off this morning. We've got no delays so far, and 24 looks pretty good as you're heading in. 40 also fine, and no delays on 65. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
5:36, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. So I like what Joan and KGB 4702 dovetailing off of what KGB said.
Yeah.
You never hear Stefano DiPietro say it's going to rain. Be sure to pack your knife.
I mean, true.
I mean, fact check true.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he doesn't.
I'm pretty sure it's not used for an umbrella.
All right, so we have changed the Daily Dan poll question already this morning, John.
Wow, that didn't take long.
No, it didn't. So our original question was, should Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia get his, and I was air quoting this, due process? 90% of the folks on the poll said, what, no?
Yeah, 90% said. It was 90-10 to no.
90 to 10 said no. Guy is a illegal alien. He is MS-13, and so we shipped them off because Trump has designated MS-13 as a terrorist organization. 2 judges, evidence said that he was an MS-13 gang member, and so off he goes to El Salvador, and El Salvador imprisons people like terrorists.
I'd also like to point out that he's not an American citizen, so he doesn't have access to due process.
So that's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, you do just have a lot of, part of this, I get the controversy, but part of this is actually good if you're a Trump supporter in the sense that this has forced the Democrats to side with an illegal alien, gangbanger, terrorist, literally to the point where they chose the terrorist and solidarity with the terrorist and his family, and they did not show any solidarity, nor did they seek solidarity for the family of, or the families of Laken Riley and Rachel Marin. So this has been a great storyline for the Trump administration in the sense that it really did expose the Democrats. I believe that's a fact check. True?
Sure.
Yeah.
Joan? All right, good.
Okay, yeah.
Was that for us? I didn't know.
I wasn't sure either.
I'm trying to keep up, guys. Keep up.
Okay.
Totally kidding. By the way, so we've changed the poll now. We've changed the poll because for the Trump administration, Marco Rubio needs some audio. Marco Rubio, you talked about this at the bottom of the hour, Joan, where he is saying, we may just walk away from this whole thing.
Yeah.
So we need to determine very quickly now, and I'm talking about in a matter of days, whether or not this is doable in over the next few weeks. If it is, we're in. If it's not, then we have other priorities to focus on as well.
See, I get what Rubio is saying. I mean, how much money have we given to Ukraine in all this? I've lost count. I mean, it's tens of billions of dollars. And so...
And we still continue to do it.
And we still continue to do it.
Yeah.
And so for, Trump and Rubio and the entire administration, do me a favor, KGB, will you look up how much money, I used to know this off the top of my head, but it's been off my radar, but how much have we given to Ukraine? And not only, of course, are we giving them money, we are giving them military equipment. Let's not forget, we're obviously propping up their economy. We're just basically giving them all the money that their residents need to live on. I mean, it's stupid amount of money.
According to the U.S. Security Cooperation on their Department of State website, $69.2 billion.
All right, so about $70 million in military and so forth. So I get what Marco Rubio is saying. We're spending all of this time trying to come to an agreement with Russia and Ukraine, and we keep hearing we're close to a deal. We're close to a deal. And then, Joan, you're reporting last night there was some bombing that happened.
Yeah. Russia sends over a bomb into a residential neighborhood of Kharkiv. Honestly.
Yeah.
If you guys are serious about coming to a close with this war, knock it off.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Here's more from Marco Rubio.
I can tell you this. This war has no military solution to it. It really doesn't. It's not going to be decided with... Neither side has some strategic capability to end this war quickly.
Yep. And he's right, because neither one of these sides has a military that would be able to defeat the others. I've been saying this for years now. It's like we have been giving them just enough money, and Europe has been giving Ukraine just enough money to keep the war going, but not win. And so it just goes on. And as people have been saying, this whole thing is a meat grinder.
I always remind everybody that part of the sanctions against Russia, many of them are European sanctions that we can't lift if that's ever to be part of a deal. So they're going to have to be involved no matter what. It's their continent. This is happening on the continent of Europe. And so obviously European powers will care deeply about what happens. So they have a stake in this, and we recognize it. And but in the end, I think we all want the same thing. I think from the U.S. perspective, we've spent 3 years, billions of dollars supporting the Ukrainian side. And but now we've reached a point where we have other things we have to focus on.
It's like, crap or get off the pot is what he's. Do you think this is strategic, though, Joan? Do you think that this is a warning to both sides?
Oh, yes, I do.
That, all right, you know what? You guys don't want to play a ball, then we're out, and you guys can continue to fight till the cows come home.
And actually, the signal might be to Europe, as in, hey, if you guys don't get to the table, the U.S. is out of here, and it's all up to Europe now. Europe, you better get on board. You better protect your own selves.
Yep.
You're interested in your territory? Start working on it. It's just like we can't be the world's policeman.
I'm so tired of that.
I know.
Like, I am so tired of that. It's Europe doesn't want this thing to end. Well, then they can fund the damn thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely.
Hey, by the way, Chris says, Joan, love the color in your hair under the lights in the newsroom.
Ooh,
and he threw
you.
down a fire emoji as well.
She's
Wow.
married.
Huh.
Back off.
We don't know if Chris is a man or a woman.
Yeah.
And by the way, I myself in the past have complimented Joan Jones on her hair color.
Yes, you
I
have.
have.
Well,
Yes.
you're also married.
Well, yeah, it wasn't in a creepy kind of way, though. You can.
I'm defending Joan. That's my job.
No, hold on. Time out. This brings up an age-old question.
Yes.
Why did it suddenly become creepy for a man to compliment a woman?
I agree.
That it gets so frustrating. There was a woman in the kitchen a while back. Amazing smelling perfume. I mean, it was just like, oh my goodness, that smells so good. I was afraid to ask the woman what her perfume was for fear of being hauled down to human resources, so I didn't say anything. But you and I, Joan, we know darn right well that she will, if I said, oh, that perfume smells amazing, what is it? I'd like to get it for my wife. She would have been complimented. She would have felt complimented.
Right. That phrase is fine, but if you went, wow, you smell so good, then it borderlines the creepy part. It's all about how you phrase it.
Listen, these are the things that we see in our little videos from corporate that say these are the phrases to avoid.
You watch those?
Oh, not really. I skip through them, but I see stuff like that. You know.
Yeah.
I always think it's about phrasing and how the tone of the voice is also crucial. So it could sound good, but also it could also come out as creepy.
When I'm reading Chris's compliment, and he just said a simple compliment is a nice gesture, no ill intended.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that if you're not saying, hey, baby, I love the smell of your perfume.
Joan, you realize what you just did, right?
I don't know. What did I do?
More texts are going to come with that exact phrase.
Yeah.
Kevin says,
give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Yeah. Kevin says the woman is the reason they are unapproachable anymore.
You know, I have to admit.
I think it's the false allegations make it worse.
Yeah.
Because you know the whole Me Too movement thing, you're supposed to believe all women, but when one lies and then you find out more lie, now you have to it sucks because you like with rape allegations like this, like you should believe them, but when people use it for personal gain and use it for their own benefit, then you have to question everything.
Yeah, I mean, men, especially during #MeToo, as you just said, you know, there have been so many false allegations. I think that I was talking to a female friend of mine a while back, and she and I were talking about this, about how men are afraid to compliment women. And she's like, she was an older lady, and she says, I used to get compliments all the time on what I was wearing, and I looked nice. Nobody ever does that anymore. And I said, well, gee, I wonder why.
Yeah.
Joan, by the way, Joan told me, KGB, that I looked nice yesterday.
I
and
did.
You know what? I didn't feel at all threatened. Nobody ever compliments me, like ever.
Well, if it was raining, you have to check if she has a knife.
Right.
All right, moving right along. Oh, we were going to talk about
Jeremy Faison.
Jeremy Faison.
Yeah.
Okay, so the story is that the Black Caucus in the State House, they're upset because whips, like literal physical whips, were distributed to the party whips in the House of Representatives. And they come out, the Black Caucus comes out, and they are somehow offended by this.
Republicans have no self-awareness.
Actually, it's them. It's the Black Caucus that has no self-awareness because literally they see racism in everything to the point where nobody cares. Nobody cares. But can you play that audio from Jeremy Faison? He is like my hero of the day.
Here you go.
Yes.
Would y'all like to see a picture of Nancy Pelosi when she became the whip and she's got a great big whip and she's sharing it?
I guess so.
Listen, when you can't find racism and you can't prove that it's happened, then you just make stuff up. That's absolute foolishness and asinine them to put that on any of our deputy whips and say this has anything to do with bigotry or racism. Foolishness on their part.
So I'm looking for the picture of Nancy Pelosi in a whip.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Have you? I'm sure that
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and repost it. I just
you
found
must.
it. I'm going to quote, does the Black Caucus here in the state of Tennessee, do they have a Twitter? Like an X handle?
I'm sure.
Because I'd like to go
they
ahead
do.
and I'd like to go ahead and tweet at them that, if you haven't seen the photo, here you go.
And it's so easy to search it. I mean, the second you put, all you have to do is put Nancy Pelosi whip in.
Yeah.
And you and press images, and there she is with her little whip.
Well, I don't know what their Twitter handle is. So I'm just gonna tweet it out. Somebody else can forward it to them if they can find them. But anyway, yeah. Do we have any audio? I don't know if you had any audio of the Congressional Black Caucus and what they were saying about the whips. I know that there were some. I know that there were some comments in the paper or whatever, on the web.
Yeah.
WSMV had some.
I haven't downloaded any. I do have them. I just haven't downloaded them.
Mm-hmm.
So I can bring them to you, but not at the moment.
Let's see here. Let me pull up the story from WSMV. The headline is Tennessee Black Caucus responds to lack of awareness after whips gifted to state reps. Let's see here. You've got showcase new positions. All right, here's what they said. When legislation is introduced to dismantle programs that promote diversity, equity, and inclusion, programs designed to address long-standing inequities, it reveals a troubling disregard for our shared humanity. To pair this with imagery of legislators holding whips only deepens the trauma, evoking a dark and painful chapter in our state's history.
I can't sigh louder.
Yeah, you know what? I just sort of roll my eyes at this. I really do. I don't pay them no never mind because they're just silly. And I don't they can't take over everything, right? I mean, if they can't take over what a whip is. I mean, okay, so by their standards, then I mean, I hate to say it like this, but okay, so then is cotton no longer allowed? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
They do. And remember, that was a thing back when. A few years ago, there were actually people who were offended by cotton, literally cotton. So it's just, to me, it's just silly. It is. If this is what the hill they want to die on, knock themselves out. But I love that Jeremy Faison called them out with the whole Nancy Pelosi photo of a whip. Why was she wearing a whip? Why not wearing it? Why was she holding a whip anyway?
That's a good question. And I just posted it on my Twitter feed too.
Mm-hmm.
Why was Nancy Pelosi?
She's grokking this.
No, this time I'm Googling it.
Okay.
Wasn't it in the same context?
Whip. I think when she became the Democratic whip.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's
big
the
deal.
same thing.
Yeah. I mean, are they offended by the term whip? And by the way, if you don't know what a whip is, they call a person who works on gathering votes a whip. they're trying to whip up the votes, right? So if there's a piece of legislation, then the whips go out and they talk to the state lawmakers and they say, okay, we need you to vote for this. We want you not to vote for this. They whip up votes. Right, Joan?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
That's
literally
perfect.
in every single government. It's not just in the United States. And it's in
Right.
every single government in the world.
Right. So I just, you know what the thing is? When they do this, when the Congressional Black Caucus does this, what they're doing is they're actually making themselves look silly. And then they lose any kind, because they have no credibility. I mean, in my opinion, they don't have any credibility.
And here you go. The term whip in government, referring to a party official responsible for ensuring party discipline and coordinating legislative strategy, became popular in the United Kingdom in the 18th century. We're not talking about a new phrase.
Right.
18th century, folks.
Okay, now let's be honest. Do you think that when they brought the whips out, do you think that they anticipated this reaction from the Congressional Black Caucus?
No.
You don't think so? Oh, KGB, you're
Wait,
so young
you
and
mean
naive.
you think the Republicans in Tennessee legislature
I'd
anticipated this?
Oh,
Oh,
I'd
so
be willing to bet they anticipated that the Black Caucus would act silly. I think they did. But you know what? I think they probably didn't care because this is what they do.
Yeah.
I don't think they did it intentionally to trigger them.
Yeah.
But I think that they did this despite the fact that they knew that they would have a reaction.
But this has been done before. It's kind of like it's like a tradition in a sense. So why would they even consider this be an issue?
Again, you're so young and naive because that's what they do. And I mean that affectionately. But this is what they do. This is what the Black Caucus does is they live to be offended. And so they are offended by this. The Republicans probably knew that they would be offended by this. And quite frankly, they did not care. And I love that. 5:53. Joan, what's coming up in the news?
Well, now that the Maryland senator has met with that MS-13 gang member in El Salvador, we'll tell you what the El Salvadoran president has to say about what's next. Those stories and more coming up here at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.553 on WTN. Dan Mandis here. Friends, if you're new to Nashville or maybe you've been here for a long time, but you need reliable garbage pickup, call my friends at J&J Services. You know, there is a lot of companies out there that do this, but J&J Services, they've been around for 20 plus years, and if you throw it away, they'll take it. They've got regular weekly trash pickup for construction sites, dumpster rental, and even commercial trash compactor services. You can toss it or you can crush it with J&J Services. They'll work with you on pickup times, and they are reliable, and they are willing, again, to work with you. And also, by the way, if you are, for whatever reason, in need of a porta potty, they can help you there as well. 2 decades of taking out the trash in Middle Tennessee. Call them for a free quote, 615-599-7778. J&J Services, 615-599-7778. You can find them online, jandjservices.com. J&J Services, where they always keep it trashy. 5:57. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In light, Joan.
Yes.
Of the last segment, people are making a song request, of course. But because of the lawyers, that's all I can play.
I was thinking about the exact same song.
Right?
I think everyone was, though.
People are like, oh my gosh, you've got to play Devo for this segment. Damn lawyers.
Do you think it's offensive? That song's offensive now?
Why? Do you know that Devo is still out there? Devo is still out there, and they're still performing.
Wait, how old are they?
How old are? Well, they're.
God, they got to be in their, 60s, no? Maybe 50s?
What?
Oh, my gosh. I just want to hit him.
I do, too.
Bring it.
I do, too.
You think I can't take you both on?
Wow.
Yeah.
I will.
I think Joan could probably take you.
In a heartbeat.
She can bring her whip.
Well,
you know what?
Fine. She can bring a weapon. Make it fair.
Joan, has this turned awkward?
In a big way. Yeah.
Because it has. I don't know why KGB is a little testy today. KGB, you want to hear more Devo?
Well,
I can just explain it.
You know why I'm testy, but we won't get into that.
This is getting really awkward. Was it something that Jonah and I have done?
No.
Because we're here to support you, KGB.
Well, you have supported me why I'm testy, but I can't say it in public. That was good.
Hey, the people on the super text line, Chris Sandoval says Devo was a one-hit wonder.
This is
with
true,
a thumbs
though.
down.
I don't know about the thumbs down
Kenny
part.
says the lead singer of Devo is now 70 years old.
Oh, I was right.
I think you said 50 or 60, didn't you?
You said
I was
50
giving
or
them the
60.
benefit of the doubt.
As if that was old.
That's exactly what you did, KGB.
Well, it's my parents' age. That's
I'm
why.
writing your name in my book and striking a line through it.
When my dad turned 60, I tried to get him a walker, but he caught me finding one on Amazon.
Jones up with the news coming up next on WTN.
Good morning, 6 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. 63 now. We're headed to a sunny 85 later today. Stick around for traffic and weather right after the news. It appears Maryland Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen did get what he wanted. He has met face-to-face with Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia. Now, this happened last night. Van Hollen posting on X that he called Abrego Garcia's wife, Jennifer, afterward. We'll hear more about his visit in a news conference later today. Meantime, El Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele posting on X, now that he's been confirmed healthy, Abrego Garcia gets the honor of staying in El Salvador's custody. It was one of President Trump's first orders of a second term. Now his fight to end birthright citizenship is headed for the nation's highest court.
The Supreme Court announcing it will hear oral arguments on the president's effort to end birthright citizenship, telling the parties to prepare to make their case in less than a month.
I am so happy. I think the case has been so misunderstood.
On Inauguration Day, President Trump signed an executive order ending birthright citizenship, even though it's protected by the 14th Amendment. Lower courts then pausing the president's efforts. It's one of several escalating battles between Trump and the courts, many focused on his immigration policy.
That's ABC's Mary Bruce. Residents of one Clarksville neighborhood are angry after learning that county workers are to blame for flooding in their Farmington neighborhood. Here's Channel 4's Jordan James.
The Montgomery County Highway Department admitted in a news release they pumped water from an overflowing basin into the Farmington Basin. Residents say that caused widespread flooding in the neighborhood.
It's never flooded before, not February, not even during tornado.
The water ended up in Thayo Awulamade's backyard and crawl space. It's left her HVAC system damaged and her family now living in a hotel.
Now, those workers also admit that a pump failed and it spilled some 250,000 gallons of water per minute into that basin. Market Numbers Report now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
Good Friday brings a break for investors dealing with a historically volatile stock market. The Dow yesterday closed down another 527 points. The NASDAQ composite slipped 0.13%. The S&P rose an identical percentage. The Trump administration is easing up on some port fees that affected Chinese-built ships and would have been up to $1.5 million for each visit. Canadian ships transporting goods to Great Lakes ports also are exempt from those fees. One online retailer sees opportunity in the tariffs. Etsy is trying to make it easier for shoppers to purchase products from local merchants to avoid the extra cost of imports. Etsy operates an online marketplace connecting buyers and sellers with mostly handcrafted goods. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
No trading on Wall Street today for Good Friday, just ahead of the Easter holiday. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Okay, it's an accident this morning. The westbound side of 24 in Jolton, the left shoulder is blocked off right there at Whites Creek Pike exit 35. And also in the South Loop, so 40 westbound, the on-ramp from 2nd Avenue, that's exit 210C, there's a crash, and that on-ramp is partially blocked as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.607, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, then 97 WTN. Welcome on in for a Good Friday. Hope you have a great Easter. And there is so much going on. By the way, at 6:38, Jonathan Fahey will be joining us to talk about a number of different issues. I want to get to this Carmelo Anthony family's press conference. It was a complete crap show. But there was also some compelling moments. But I got to tell you that their attorney, is a guy who is clearly, I heard the Red Eye guys say this, and I thought it was very insightful. It's almost like they're setting up a situation where they're going to try to say that they had incompetent legal representation coming up after whatever happens in Carmelo Anthony's trial happens, because this guy that is representing him, Dominique Alexander, number one, he doesn't seem very bright, but number two, I got to say that he was incredibly insulting to the Metcalf family. Of course, you know the Metcalf family. Austin Metcalf is the one that Carmelo Anthony stabbed. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say allegedly or not, because Carmelo Anthony did, and he admits he did stab Metcalf in the chest. I mean, that is not, there's no denying that. If you want to use the term murder, then you can say allegedly murdered, but whatever. But it is true that Anthony did stab Austin Metcalf literally in cold blood, and you know that they're going to be talking about self-defense in this case. But on to this press conference, because, again, it was just insane. Dominique Alexander, his organization is called the New Generation Action Network. And basically, this is a Dallas-based version of what Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton used to be, perhaps still are. But they're representing Carmelo Anthony, and this is part of what happened.
I want to start off this press conference to say something as a deep note that I can tell America.
So, Jeff Metcalf, the father of Austin Metcalf, shows up at the press conference. It was open to the public, and this guy, Dominique Alexander, and Carmelo Anthony's family had the police escort Austin Metcalf's father out of the press conference. And the question would be why? Why would they not allow the father of the 17-year-old that Carmelo Anthony killed in cold blood, why would they not want the father to be able to hear what the family had to say for themselves? But he kept talking. The Dominique Alexander kept talking and had a lot more to say.
What we seen at the beginning of this press conference, the father being at this press conference, these are my words, don't quote anybody, is a disrespect to the dignity of his son.
What?
Next Generation Action Network from the beginning has respected the loss of life. No matter our opinion of it, we have kept our opinion close. We have not attacked. We have not shared the information that was shared with us about Austin Metcalf, because we respect the dignity of life and loss.
So I don't really even understand the rationale or the line of thinking how Jeff Metcalf showing up to the press conference was an insult to the memory of his son, Austin. I don't even really understand the thinking there. But it was clearly inflammatory. He claims somehow that the dad showing up is an insult to the memory of Austin. Don't understand it. How? And maybe somebody on the super text line can explain it to me. I'm having a rough morning, but maybe I'm just not getting it. But he says that his side has been quiet about all this. Well, yeah, the reason why your side has been quiet is because your side is on the side of a guy who killed another person unarmed in cold blood. So, yeah, you should be quiet. And then he dangles this. And I thought this was incredibly insulting to the memory of Austin Metcalf and incredibly insulting to the family of Austin. Listen to what he says.
We have not shared the information that was shared with us about Austin Metcalf.
Wow. You hear that last part? Well, first of all, he shanked his name, but whatever. But he dangles this. we have information on Austin that we're not exposing.
We have not shared the information that was shared with us about Austin Metcalf.
So you know what this is, right? This is going to be some sort of a race baiting thing. You know that it's going to be more than likely something that they'll use to justify this unjustifiable killing. As they try to clearly, it seems to me, insult the victim here. Insult the character of this grieving father is what Dominic Alexander did next.
And just shows you all the character who is not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family, but he did it.
So this guy, Dominic Alexander, is insulting the character of Jeff Metcalf, the father of Austin. So if Dominic Alexander would like to talk about character, by all means, let's talk about character. Dude is a convicted felon. Dominic Alexander is a convicted felon. So if you want to start talking about character, let's talk about him. A convicted felon who faced felony theft charges. He broke his parole violations, and there's also allegations of child and women abuse. This is from the Daily Caller. Because if we're going to talk about character, let's talk about character, shall we? The activist was arrested in 2019 on a felony charge of family violence after his partner accused him of trying to strangle her. Citing court documents, his partner later signed an affidavit just prior to a grand jury indictment saying that she wanted no further part of this prosecution on account of how the police handled the case. So she didn't come out and say, no, I was lying, or it was false accusations, or it was a misunderstanding, or we worked out our differences. No, she says, well, I don't like the way the police handled the case, so I want nothing more to do with this. The activist was also arrested in 2009 for causing, listen to this is horrific. He was also arrested in 2009 for causing serious head injuries to the 2-year-old child of his then girlfriend, according to the Dallas Observer. While Alexander initially claimed the baby fell off the couch when he was babysitting, an investigator said a doctor reported that the severity of the injuries did not match with that excuse. Alexander later confessed to shaking and hitting the baby with an object, according to court records obtained by the Dallas Morning News. He pleaded guilty in 2011, and the judge sentenced him to probation. He was sentenced in 2016 to 5 years in prison for violating probation multiple times, but served only 8 days due to the probation counting toward his sentence. He was indicted once again on felony theft charges that were increased due to a 2013 forgery conviction. The Dallas Express reported, citing court records, he pleaded guilty in 2021 and was sentenced to 2 years in jail. So if Dominic Alexander would like to talk about character, which he did, talking about Jeff Metcalf, the father of Austin Metcalf, then by all means, let's talk about character, because clearly Dominic Alexander has none, or if he does, it's bad. Oh, he said a lot more. Race baiting from the first word. So we've got a lot more on that coming up. It is 6:15 on WTN. Time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather, it's going to be a nice weekend, a nice Easter weekend. First of all, today, 85 and sunny. Saturday, a high of 87, partly cloudy. Sunday, high of 86 and partly cloudy. Thanks for listening to Nashville's Morning News. So just to let you know where this whole thing is going to go with this, in my opinion, this unjustified killing, clearly, of Carmelo Anthony, and this press conference from yesterday. One of the things that he brought up, of course, Dominic Alexander, the representative for Carmelo Anthony, is the black struggle.
And that is your constitutional right? It's people out here reminding us of the black struggle in America.
All right. So you know, obviously, where this is going. And my question would be, what does the black struggle have anything to do with the fact that Carmelo Anthony stabbed another person unarmed in cold blood? What does the black struggle have to do with any of that? And part of what he was saying is that the family has been, and I've got some very compelling audio from the mother, but one of the things that he was saying, he was blaming people's reaction to this killing. Well, sorry if people reacted in a negative way to what happened, but oh my Lord, of course they did. By the way, in answer to what I'm sure is on a lot of your minds, he didn't have a word to say about why it is that Carmelo Anthony had a knife at a track meet. By the way, and I know Chris talked about this yesterday, Carmelo Anthony's friends and family are selling merch. Free Mello hats and shirts are being sold online.
It's so disgusting.
Capitalizing on this horrific story. Unbelievable.
What he has failed into is the political operatives that want to make this thing a political thing of hate, yet bigotry, and yet racism.
Yeah, talking about Jeff Metcalf, Austin's father. So on the one hand, he's saying, well, Jeff Metcalf's father is reacting to all the people trying to make this about race, when literally a lot of his press conference was race baiting and talking about the black struggle, which, again, has nothing to do with justifying what Carmelo Anthony did. He also says, by the way, the family has not rented a new home, has not bought a new car, has not hired private security, despite the reporting of the Daily Mail, the New York Post, and other outlets.
This is not just about Carmelo. It's about the family who dared to stand and demand justice in a return and receive ugliness that racism in this country still breeds. But let me say this loud and clear. We are not scared. We are not moving. We will not be silent.
You know, he says the family wants justice, and I don't understand that, because the family that should be screaming for justice is the family of Austin Metcalf, right? So what does he mean? His client is the perpetrator in this case. What about justice for Austin? He's the one, and his family. They are the ones that absolutely do deserve justice. And by the way, he also brought up, true to form, Kyle Rittenhouse, as others have, and Daniel Penny, trying to compare these situations.
I'm trying to find how many of y'all...
And hold on, this is the right cut.
Because these racist bigots try to prevent us from standing up for our baby, our boy, he should be afforded the same rights that Kyle Rittenhouse had, Daniel Penna, and all of the people who have claimed whatever their defense was. He should be afforded the same right.
Well, nobody's saying that Carmelo Anthony shouldn't have his day in court. Obviously, he will.
Nobody in the public media has one video camera, but we got the video of Kyle Rittenhouse with an AK-47 shooting 3 people in the back.
No.
We got that. And he raised more than $2 million publicly, and nobody says anything.
So a few things, because he is talking about all the money being raised for his client. Number one, I hope Kyle Rittenhouse sues this dude for slander, because Kyle Rittenhouse did not shoot these folks in the back, and he also didn't have an AK-47. People did lose their minds when there were folks that were donating to Rittenhouse's defense. The left lost their ever-loving minds on that, I remember. So what this lawyer is clearly trying to do is get people to donate to the Anthony Family Fund. That was a good chunk of this press conference, was this lawyer asking that people donate to the Anthony Family Fund. So clearly this dude can clean up. He can make a whole lot of money. And I don't know if you noticed this, Joan, but he must have mentioned the name of his organization 50 times.
Yeah, I wonder why.
In this 30-minute press conference. Yeah, exactly. I wonder why.
It's one of the most bizarre press conferences I have ever seen.
It was weird, and there was a lot of things that he did that seemed bizarre. We played this earlier, but at one point he did seemingly blame the weather.
I'm trying to find how many of y'all have asked the superintendent or one single board of trustee, why didn't you cancel or postpone? With weather in that magnitude, you couldn't have a track meet in rain or thunderstorm or clouds. Y'all are the media. Ask your journalists, your weather journalists, how the weather was that day and that time. Y'all do that research.
So apparently it was raining, but you do have rain delays. I ran track. I actually know this. If it's raining and it's thundering and lightning, you can have delays as thunderstorms pass. But just a bizarre comment, and people are pointing to not only that comment, but a lot of other comments that Dominic Alexander made during this press conference. But coming up, I'm actually going to play the audio of Carmelo Anthony's mother. It is must-hear audio, and it is coming up on Super Talk 99.7. Joan Jones, what's coming up in the news?
Well, the man who was wanted for the stabbing death of his wife at a school in Madison on Monday, he's been busted now. Police got him. We've got the details about that arrest coming up here at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.623 on WTN. Dan Mandis here. Lake lovers, listen up. If you've ever wanted to live by the lake, now is a great opportunity because my friends at Tennessee National, a highly anticipated lakefront resort, golf and marina community, they now are having a spring sales event. It is coming up on Saturday, April 26th. You want to call them right now to secure your private tour. They've got some great deals going on right now. If you've ever wanted to live by the lake, again, this is your opportunity. Cottage packages with boat slips starting at $379.9. Lake lots with covered boat slips, $64.9. Subdividable wooded lots, they are starting at $79.9. And for the first time ever, and this is actually my favorite part, I've stayed in these lakefront townhomes, fully furnished. They're available now as well. The amenities at Tennessee National, incredible. 10 miles of walking trails, 3.5 miles of shoreline, a brand new 26,000 square foot clubhouse, and waterfront concerts overlooking a beautiful lake. You've got to see it to believe it, and you can. Secure your private tour right now, 865-408-9992. By the way, it is just over 20 minutes from Knoxville, Tennessee. 865-408-9992. Secure your private tour. Find them online, TennesseeNational.com. That's TennesseeNational.com. Dan Mandis from my window company, Window Nation. I endorse these folks because they did great work for me. Listen, friends, if you've got old and inefficient windows, it is time to upgrade with Window Nation. You know, they were ranked highest on Forbes' list of best window installers. That's right. That is Window Nation. Now, yeah, they did put new windows in my basement studio, my kitchen, and my bedroom. They do look fantastic, and they can do the same thing for you. Now, right now, Window Nation has a great deal for listeners to my show. You buy 4 windows, you get 4 additional windows absolutely free. plus no payments, no interest until 2027. These windows are energy efficient, so not only are you saving money on install, but on your electricity bills as well. Now, how do I know that you're going to be happy with my window company, Window Nation? They've got a 96% satisfaction rating and over 20,000 five-star reviews. 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION, windownation.com. You know, people are asking some really good questions here because I've seen articles saying that Dominic Alexander is a lawyer. And people are asking the question, with a rap sheet like the dude has, how is he a lawyer? I don't know if he is actually a lawyer now that I'm looking at this, because other articles are saying that he is representing, but not necessarily legally. So I don't know if he's an activist, if he's a lawyer, if his organization is going to supply a lawyer. I don't know. But what I do know is the testimony of Carmelo Anthony's mother. Her name is Kayla Hayes. She got up to speak yesterday during this train wreck of a press conference.
As a stay-at-home mom, I made it my life's mission to ensure our children are loved, nurtured, and supported every step of the way. In wake of this tragic incident, our family has been under attack. Whatever you think what happened between Carmelo and the Metcalf boys, my 3 younger children, my husband, and I didn't do anything to deserve to be threatened, harassed, and lied about.
Got a lot more straight ahead. 6:30 News is now on WTN.
Good morning. It is 6:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. 24 the eastbound side at Whites Creek. Watch it. There's an accident, and the left shoulder is blocked off by it. Well, in the news, got him. That man wanted for the stabbing death of a woman outside Chadwell Elementary School has now been captured. News 2's Elisheva Wemberly is reporting.
Law enforcement has been looking for Rubio Perez since Monday. That's when police say he stabbed his 52-year-old wife to death in the parking lot of Chadwell Elementary School in Madison. She was working as a custodian at the school. A fellow employee found her body.
Police were tipped off to Candido Rubio Perez's whereabouts at a Madison high-rise apartment complex. He was booked into jail last night. On the House floor in the State House yesterday.
Wake up, we want freedom, all these racist policies, we don't need them.
That is Representative.
What the heck is that?
You know who it is.
I know. Is that Pearson or Jones?
Jones. Representative Justin Jones. Another stunt during the debate last night on a bill that eliminates DEI from the state government and Tennessee colleges. Now, Democrats say that this rolls back civil rights protections for minorities, but Republicans say eliminating DEI ends discrimination and allows hiring based on merit. That bill did pass in the House. It is headed to the Senate for a vote today. And tomorrow, Saturday, marks 30 years since terrorism came to America's heartland, carried on the back of a Ryder rental truck. ABC's Jim Ryan was in Oklahoma City on April 19th in 1995, covering the bombing of the Alfred Murrah Federal Building.
Hundreds of federal employees had settled into their desks in the 9-story building that Wednesday morning, and children played in the daycare center on the second floor. A meeting was being recorded across the street when, at 9:03, a truck loaded with 5,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate and fuel oil exploded outside. 168 people were killed, including 19 children. Domestic terrorist Timothy McVeigh was convicted and put to death in 2001. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
And that is the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather up ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 6:32, Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis here for Clayton Homes. Now, they're in the middle of a big home sales event that is going on right now. It is the Go Big and Go Home sales event exclusively from Clayton Homes. Now, Clayton Homes, they are changing the way homes are built. These are affordable homes and cost less to live in. They use quality products from the world's most trusted brands, and they come equipped with Energy Smart features for year-round comfort and a lifetime of savings. Now, if you've already living in a manufactured or a mobile home, you can use that as your down payment. Clayton Homes and Freedom Homes, they are here to answer all your questions with multiple options, multiple floor plans, and features as well. Now, if you don't know where to start, check them out online, gobigandgohomesales.com. That's gobigandgohomesale.com and get all the information you need and go home. Sales price is for the home only and does not include required taxes, delivery, and installation. Installation price will be higher. Contact your local retailer for complete sales price. Information and for a list of eligible homes. Discount may not be available on all models, may not be combined with any other offer or promotion. Sales event ends 4/30/25. .634 on WTN, friends. The spring season is upon us. Now is the time to start thinking about your outdoor lawn equipment. My friends at DT McCall's, they can help you out with a great price on a Cub Cadet lawnmower. Right now, they're in the middle of their spring Cub Cadet mower sale. It's going on right now, begins today, the 18th, in Cookeville, at their Cookeville location. It's going to go till the 26th. Now, you should know by now that DT McCall & Sons, they are ranked as a top Cub Cadet dealer here in America. You can find Cub Cadet riding mowers with 42 to 72-inch decks for those larger areas, as well as Cub Cadet walk-behind mowers for those smaller lots. Now, when you purchase a Cub Cadet mower from DT McCall's, you'll be getting access to their in-house service department. It is nearly impossible to find mower service anywhere else. With a large selection of Cub Cadet mowers, free delivery, and an in-house service department, it really is an easy choice. And don't forget the spring Cub Cadet mower sale going on right now through the 26th at DT McCall's, their Cookeville location, beginning today through the 26th. Find them online. More information, dtmccalls.com.
Okay, in Jolton, 24 eastbound, there's an accident right at Whites Creek Pike, and it looks like right now it's blocking off the left shoulder. They may be trying to move that over to the right shoulder to let traffic move by again. South Loop, the I-40 westbound on-ramp from 2nd Avenue, there's a crash, and the on-ramp there is partially blocked off. And then you've got a problem on Briley Parkway southbound in West Nashville, the accident blocking the right shoulder at Robertson Avenue. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
637, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super text line, by the way, is open, very active today. Thank you. 615-737-9986. Jonathan Fahey is our legal analyst, and he joins us here on Super Talk 99.7. Couple of things, Jonathan, real quick. I don't know if you saw this press conference yesterday. Train wreck of a press conference. Carmelo Anthony, the family came out, and their representative came out, a guy by the name of Dominic Alexander, who apparently likes to act as an attorney kind of person, but what he is actually just representing the family. He is not an attorney. He actually has a rap sheet a mile long. But when you look at this case of Carmelo Anthony, where he literally stabbed another 17-year-old, Austin Metcalf, in cold blood, I don't really understand how there's much of a case here. I mean, it clearly, and there's like 75 witnesses, people that have been interviewed about this thing. I mean, it seems to me like an open and shut case. I mean, do you have any thoughts on this just as an attorney?
Yeah, that's the way it seems to me. It's like, that there's no real self-defense argument. I think that's the only defense they'll try to mount, but it's like it's hard to have a self-defense argument when the other person, meaning the victim, didn't have a knife, didn't have a gun or anything else, and you're the one that inject a knife into the situation. And also the fact that he had a knife on him shows sort of almost like a predisposition for violence or things like that. So I don't really see an issue here, like a legal issue, that he won't get convicted. I know that, and it's really shameful the way his spokesperson is out there insulting the victim's father and doing all these things, and they're raising all of this money off this, trying to create a racial issue here, which we all know if the races were reversed on this case, this would be the biggest national news story, and there would be protests everywhere on this. But instead we have, the suspect, defendant, the killer is making money. His family is living in, I believe, a $900,000 house. And it's one of the most shameful things I've ever seen. He should be trying to engender sympathy and maybe actually take some responsibility for something that is one of the most horrible things I've heard of recently in a world where we're hearing horrible things every day.
Well, and the thing is, the friends and family, they're hawking merch. I mean, it is horrifying. The other thing that, and I mentioned this the other day, but just in thinking about what happened, and then we'll move on, but thinking about what happened, where the altercation between Metcalf and Anthony, it starts, and then Anthony has time to turn around, stoop down, unzip his bag, because the knife was apparently in his bag, unzips his bag, finds the knife, comes back up, and then stabs Metcalf. So it seems like you're talking about, we're talking about self-defense. I mean, if dude had time to do all that, then it just doesn't seem like self-defense would be appropriate, because Metcalf obviously wasn't doing anything to prevent him from getting into his bag.
Yeah, exactly. From getting in his bag, from going away. And, self-defense is, you could use proportionate defense. If somebody's pushing you, you don't get to, take out a knife or take out a gun and shoot them, because you don't have reason to believe your life is in danger, you're in danger of serious bodily injury. So it really is almost like a premeditated act, because at that point, when when the confrontation starts, he decides to inject a knife into the situation and to stab someone, knowing that the likely outcome is they're going to die. So it's really disgraceful. And just everything you read about this, the way it's being covered in the media, the way the family is reacting, meaning the family of the defendant, it's again just so shameful.
All right. In other news, we have a lot going on. Of course, we all know what is going on with illegal immigration. We also know that this Senator Van Hollen, I'm going to go into a deep dive on this in the next hour, but Senator Chris Van Hollen now, he was able to meet with I'm going to put this in air quotes, of course, the Maryland man Abrego Garcia, who, of course, we all know that he, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, where he was an MS-13 gang member, and he's been shipped off to El Salvador. And I thought it was interesting because Van Hollen was able to see him. That's number one. But I also thought that it was interesting. Make sure my audio's up, KGB. I also thought it was interesting. Donald Trump said this yesterday. I want you to hear this.
Mr. President, or hold you in contempt, will you take steps to return Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia to the United States and put him in front of a judge?
Well, I'm not involved in it. I'm going to respond by saying you'll have to speak to the lawyers, the DOJ. I've heard many things about him, and we'll have to find out what the truth is.
I mean, put aside legal for a minute. I just thought it was interesting that Trump seems to be sort of distancing himself from this whole discussion.
Yeah, it is interesting, and he made another statement. I believe it was last Friday on Air Force One that he's basically his position is inherently reasonable. If ultimately it's ruled they have to get him back, it seems like they'll end up getting him back here. But it is, he has a lot to, that he's worried about, so he's really not focusing on the weeds here. But this is really funny when you watch the Democrats react to the, Maryland, their new superhero, Maryland man. It's it's amazing. It's like, he's a gang member, he beats his wife, and he fights deportation, and that's, the new comic book hero for them. It's so pathetic, and it's funny watching them go through all these hoops to bring this guy back, because we know their real intention is to not let anyone be deported, and they were bringing in gang members, and they never cared about it. Chris Van Hollen never met with Patty Moore, and the whole thing is so shameful. But ultimately what the Democrats don't realize, and I think Chris Van Hollen doesn't realize or hasn't appreciated, if Maryland man is flown back or flies back on his own accord with his whatever powers he has, he's going to go back to immigration court, and they're going to deport him because the reason for keeping him here was it wasn't safe in El Salvador. Well, 6 years later, it is safe in El Salvador. In fact, it's safer than in the United States and safer than almost most countries in the world. It's equivalent to maybe Sweden or Korea in terms of violent crime. So his argument that he's not a gang member actually counters his claim to stay, because if you're not a gang member, it's actually even safer in El Salvador. So every which way you slice this thing, the bottom line is he's going to be in El Salvador or somewhere other in the United States, and that's where he should be. There's no reason a gang member should be kept in this country, and Donald Trump is putting public safety, putting the American people ahead of these illegal aliens and these gang members, unlike the Biden administration.
6:45 on Nashville's Morning News. Jonathan Fahey is with us for Friday. Time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather goes, today, Friday, 85 and sunny. Saturday, a high of 87, partly cloudy. On Sunday, a high of 86 and partly cloudy. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. So, news that now the Supreme Court is going to hear arguments over Donald Trump's bid to partially enforce birthright citizenship executive order. So this is something I think that we've all been watching. If you're somebody is supportive of the Trump administration, you know that he has been going after birthright citizenship. Jonathan, let's talk a little bit about this, because this has been the goal the entire time. Get this in front of the Supreme Court. So talk a little bit about, and Amy Coney Barrett, I just don't know what she's thinking these days, but how do you think this is going to fare?
I think ultimately it could fare a couple ways. It could fare against the Trump administration that's, hey, this is the law if you want, or this is in the Constitution that if you're born here, you're a citizen, even though the whole purpose of this was for the freed slaves and had nothing to do with illegal aliens that come here specifically to have a child here so the child can be a citizen and they can, by extension, stay here. So I think most people, if you look at this issue, would probably agree you shouldn't have that privilege or that right. Just if you have a baby here, you become your family, gets to stay and your baby's a citizen. But the 14th Amendment says basically if you're born in the United States and you're under the jurisdiction of the United States, you're a citizen. And the argument is, well, they're not under the jurisdiction of the United States because they came here illegally, therefore their offspring aren't citizens. The Supreme Court could do one or two things. They could just rule against them outright. They could also say, let's send this to Congress to define what it means to be under the jurisdiction of the United States. So Congress could then pass a law that says being under jurisdiction of the United States means blank, but it specifically doesn't mean people that are here illegally having a baby. So they could pass some law like that. Or alternatively, there's probably a lot of public support for this to try to do a constitutional amendment, which is an arduous process and a lengthy process. But there's really no serious argument that this should be the law of the United States, and it encourages illegal behavior, illegal aliens to come, and there's really no benefit to the United States, meaning the people that are currently citizens, of having this law.
One of the things, and I just pulled up your official bio, and it's a long one, so I'm going to read this real quick, and there's a reason I'm doing this, friends. Jonathan Fahey is an American attorney, politician, academic, law enforcement official who served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, later the senior official performing the duties of the Director of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, of course, ICE. So obviously you are well in tune with what the Trump administration, that was all during the first Trump administration. So you're well in tune with what the president is currently trying to do with deportations. He's done great in getting rid of all of these gangbangers, and we all know that the border is effectively now shut down and absolutely secure. The one thing that some folks are criticizing President Trump on is the number of deportations. There's a long way to go. But I think part of the challenge that he's facing is, number one, resources, and number two, a lot of this backlash from sanctuary cities.
Yeah, exactly. One, resources. They need more resources to deport people. But also these sanctuary cities are fighting tooth and nail to prevent deportation of serious criminals, which is still, to me, mind-boggling how far extreme the Democratic Party is, that they will fight to keep criminals in this country. And, there's a very good argument, and I think we're going to see some things unfold very soon, that these sanctuary cities are engaged in alien harboring, which is a violation of United States Code 8, Section 1324, which if you are doing things to facilitate illegal aliens from being, captured by ICE or apprehended by ICE, you could be guilty of that. So I think they're going to open up investigations on that. But the other thing is, for getting the deportations to not respectable, but to sizable numbers, because they're certainly getting bad people out now, they're probably going to focus on ways to get people to voluntarily deport, incentivizing that maybe through either financial incentives or say, hey, if you deport on your own, you might not be barred from later seeking some sort of legal avenue to come here, but if we have to deport you without you voluntarily deporting, you will never come back, and if you do so, you'll be arrested. So I think those will be the areas they're hard focus on sanctuary cities and hard focus on getting people to voluntarily support, and then get more resources as well, so they have the ability to deport people in greater numbers. But what they're doing now is extraordinary, and they're also focusing on the most serious, most dangerous criminals, which makes it better for all of us, citizens day to day.
I just saw this, Jonathan, and it sickens me. Somebody from the Supertext line sent this in, asking if I knew that Austin Metcalf's family had been targeted in swatting. Now, I don't know if you folks know what swatting is. I've spoken about it a couple of times. Basically, what somebody does is they call 911, they call the police, and say that there is some sort of a gunshot or an issue with somebody with a gun inside a home. The police show up, and the police have their guns drawn. And the risk is that somebody inside the home might pull out their own gun, might try to defend themselves because they don't know what the heck's going on. And it's called swatting, and it's been happening to conservatives all across the country. And apparently sickening that it has now happened to the family of Austin Metcalf. And I guess, some people are saying that this should be a charge of attempted murder if they find whoever made this phone call. And I believe that they can figure out who did make the phone call. But what do you think of that?
Yeah, they should have severe penalties for this, because like you're saying, this is becoming more prevalent, and it puts not only the homeowner, the innocent homeowner at risk, but also the law enforcement agents that may want to go, have to go into a home and they don't know what they're getting into. So it's just a recipe for disaster, and it's becoming more and more common. And you hear not just this family, but politicians. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene has been swatted and other people. And again, I don't want to say it's only the left that does this stuff, but it does seem far more prevalent of the left using tactics like this, using violence for not only intimidation, but just to harm their opponents. So, yeah, it should be a severe penalty because the consequences are so dire. And, I don't know that there's been an incident of somebody getting shot, either a homeowner or a police officer, but I'm sure there will be at some point because of these are dangerous situations. Yep. The police come into something they don't know about. A homeowner is startled by somebody coming to their door that they don't know about. So it's just a recipe for horrible things to happen, and the consequences should be severe for people that are doing so.
Absolutely. All right, Jonathan, great comments and perspective. How can people find you on X?
John for Fairfax. And Dan, you need to follow me too. JONFORFAIRFAX.
Are you calling me out? I thought I did. I thought
I'm
following. Am I not following you?
Me. I was like, Dan, I follow you.
Shame on me.
Yikes.
All right, you know what? That will be rectified momentarily. Thank you, Jonathan Fahey. I'm getting called out today.
Well, sometimes it's good.
You know what? Sometimes, yes, I need to take responsibility and accountability. And if I'm asking other folks to, follow Jonathan Fahey, then clearly I need to do the same.
Also, he gets up so early for you.
Yeah.
It's the least you can do.
He does. I mean, because it's, he's 6:30, he's 7:30 in where he is in, I think, Virginia. So thank you, Jonathan.
Don't make Jonathan get his whip out on you.
And whip it good.
Thank you. Joan, what's coming up in the news?
So we'll tell you what a woman did to fight off her attacker along a running trail this week, a story we told you about from Monday. Also, is giving a whip to a lawmaker whip insensitive? We'll take a look at this controversy. We've got those stories coming up here.
Now, Joan, I'm always here to help the news department.
I know. And do you have any music for me, Dan? I thought so.
Now, the problem is that's all we can play because of the damn lawyers.
Guess what song?
It's always the lawyers.
It always is. The lawyers call corporate. Corporate calls the people downstairs. The people downstairs tell the people upstairs. And I get called into the office.
And then the boss gets out his whip.
That song is in everyone's head for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's okay. It's a great song. By the way, you know what I've noticed?
What is it?
So, the lead singer of Devo, somebody texted me, not texted, but posted on social media, tagged me in it. The lead singer of Devo looks amazingly like Tim Burchett.
Oh, really? Okay. Who is the lead singer of Devo? Do you remember?
Some guy in a helmet.
Okay.
It looks like a Lego helmet.
Oh, I saw that. The red helmet? Yeah, he does look like Tim Burchett.
We have got to go. KGB is going to whip me. Good. 6:55. Nashville's Morning News. Listen, you've probably been looking for cars, and you see the words buy here, pay here, and it does make you think, well, that's not a place I want to go. And I do get it. Most of these dealers do have bad reputations. Well, Dan Mendes here, and I'm here to tell you that there is one place you can go. Nolensville Road Auto Mart. They are different for a few simple reasons. They've been doing business in Nashville for 61 years. They are Nashville natives that only sell clean title cars under $12,000. If you're new to town and you need a place to trust, they got you. If you need a first car for a 16-year-old, well, they can help you with that as well. Now, they've got incredible Google reviews. They are excellent. That's saying something for a car dealership. One location on Nolensville Road, close to Thompson Lane. They're going to get you in and out in an hour or less. Find them online, automartcars.com. That's automartcars.com. Dan Matt is here for Loan Pronto. Listen, friends, interest rates have plummeted. It is time to call my friends at Loan Pronto. If you are looking to get cash out of your home's equity, refinance out of a high rate, or do a home improvement project, Loan Pronto can make it happen in a matter of days. Take advantage of this opportunity and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your home's equity. You can pay off all your credit cards. You can pay off your car loans, too. You know, the average homeowner cuts their monthly bills by $1,000. Get more information at loanpronto.com. Inflation and higher costs have put a lot of people in a stressful financial situation. But you know what? If you own a home, there is a way out. Loan Pronto has multiple options that can help you get the financial freedom you deserve. Find them online, loanpronto.com. That's loanpronto.com. Call them at 615-499-5780. LoanPronto.com, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval, NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
Good morning. It's 7 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories on this Good Friday. We've got traffic and weather coming up. Stick around. The estranged husband who was wanted in the stabbing death of a Nashville school custodian has now been arrested. 52-year-old Candido Rubio Perez taken into custody outside a high-rise apartment complex around 6 o'clock last night in Madison. He's accused of stabbing his wife in the parking lot of Chadwell Elementary School on Monday when she arrived for work in the early morning hours. New security cameras are going up at Oaklands Park in Murfreesboro days after a young woman says she used self-defense skills to fight off a man who attacked her there on Monday. The 18-year-old said she was out on a run when 23-year-old Xavier Carter grabbed her. She was able to fight him off. He was later arrested after stealing from a gas station. Over at the state capitol, Democrat lawmakers upset because Republicans who helped to push through legislation, or so-called whips, received actual whips as gifts. Democrats calling it racist and inappropriate. But Republicans pushed back. Here's Representative Jeremy Faison.
Would y'all like to see a picture of Nancy Pelosi when she became the whip and she's got a great big whip and she's sharing it?
I guess
listen, when you can't find racism and you can't prove that it's happened, then you just make stuff up. That's absolute foolish and asinine them to put that on any of our deputy whips and say this has anything to do with bigotry or racism. Foolishness on their part.
In all, 6 deputy whips were appointed by House Majority Whip Johnny Garrett of Goodlettsville. He handed out those whips engraved and encased in glass. And that wasn't all. Democrats are crying foul over the use of a House rule to limit debate and call for a vote on a bill that ends DEI in government and public colleges and universities. House Majority Leader William Lambert.
By the way, if DEI stood for diversity, excellence, and inclusion, it'd be perfectly fine. But it stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is a communist socialist principle that is racist in its very core.
Now, Democrat Sam McKenzie of Knoxville responding.
What are you talking about? socialism, communism. He's throwing words out there. It's like woke. He's showing you all shiny objects to get off the fact that he manipulated this process today because he didn't want to hear the truth.
That measure passed a House vote last night, and it heads to the Senate for a vote now on Monday. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Trading suspended for today. It's Good Friday, and traders have the day off. Stocks ended in the red yesterday. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Well, we've got a crash. It's out near the airport, 40 eastbound at the on-ramp from Donaldson Pike, exit 216B. That on-ramp is partially blocked off. It's an overturned vehicle there. It may take a while to get that off the roadway. Madison, an accident, Old Hickory Boulevard at Gallatin Pike. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.707 Nationals Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We were talking earlier about Jeremy Faison, Joan, and about how I really love how Republicans today, and I think I've mentioned this previous in the week. You know, I remember when Republicans would absolutely cower.
Yes.
Remember this at being called racist? Where it was like, oh, no, I'm not racist. Don't call me a racist. And then here we are in 2025. And you know what? You call conservatives or Republicans racist. You know what? They're just going to flip you the middle finger right back. Because we don't care that because they have so overused that term and that accusation, it holds absolutely no meaning anymore. And I truly do love how Republicans and conservatives are getting aggressive. Like Caroline Leavitt during the White House press briefings, I love that she gives it right back to the media, the media, the mainstream media. I love that she is giving and allowing the rise of new media in the White House press briefings. I love that Stephen Miller from the Trump administration, he is giving it to the media as well. We are, and conservatives are, fighting back against these nut job Democrats who do nothing but hurl accusations. You were playing that audio from Justin Jones in the state legislature. Do you have that handy?
Yeah, I do.
I don't think that you played it in the last newscast, but can we just play that real quick? So this is Justin Jones playing his stupid little games.
Wake up, we want freedom, freedom, all these racist policies, we don't need them.
Dude, nobody is taking you seriously.
I know.
Like, literally nobody
You're a
is taking you
state
seriously.
legislator, for heaven's sakes.
Well, he's a clown show, is what he is. He and Justin Pearson, Glojo, John Ray Clemens, they're a clown show. And the problem is that you can't take them seriously when they do things like that. And the reason why I don't take them seriously, it's not because they have little to no power in the state legislature. It's because of the way that they behave. It's hard to respect them when they act like that and when they are constantly screaming about racism and calling people racist. So I used to wonder a long time ago, way before I had a talk show, where I noticed that this accusation, the Republicans would melt, just cower at the notion of being called a racist, and certainly being called a racist by a black person. Now it literally has no impact whatsoever because they have overused it so much. And so I love that audio from Jeremy Faison, literally calling them out because they're saying, oh, whips are racist. Well, okay, so what about Nancy Pelosi? And I love that they're just laughing at them. I love, and you did play that in the last newscast, I love how Jeremy Faison and whoever else was there, I just enjoy the fact that they're laughing. Do you have that handy?
Which one was it?
Jeremy Faison, where they're laughing at the antics of the Black caucus in the state legislature. This might be my favorite audio of the day.
Would y'all like to see a picture of Nancy Pelosi when she became the whip and she's got a great big whip and she's sharing it?
I guess so.
Listen, when you can't find racism and you can't prove that it's happened, then you just make stuff up. That's absolute foolish and asinine them to put that on any of our deputy whips and say this has anything to do with bigotry or racism. Foolishness on their part.
I love it. Absolute. Well done. Well done, Jeremy Faison. All right, moving right along. It is 7:12 on Nashville's Morning News. So Senator Chris Van Hollen finally got to meet Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia. And, of course, the debate does continue here in America. It's one of CNN's lead stories. Here's what he said. Writing on X, Senator Chris Van Hollen, I said my main goal of this trip to El Salvador was to meet with Kilmar. Tonight, I did have the chance. I have called his wife, Jennifer, to pass along his message of love. Sorry. He beat her twice, at least. Ripped off her shirt. She had bruises and scratches. But, okay, thank you, Senator Van Hollen, for passing along those messages of love. He says, I look forward to providing a full update upon my return. You know, one of the things that I've been saying is that this senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, it's really all about him. I mean, he has been posting every step of the way. And, of course, now there are photos of this meeting with Kilmar and Van Hollen. there at some fancy hotel. Apparently, it was the fancy hotel that Van Hollen was staying at. You know, nice white tablecloth and the whole thing. And so you've got now people that are, you know, criticizing Van Hollen and of course, continued to criticize Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I love what the Salvadoran president said, Nayib Bukele, saying about the meeting. Now that he has been confirmed healthy, he gets the honor of staying in El Salvador's custody, says Bukele. And I love that because that is what's going to happen. The meeting, of course, had a lot of drama leading up to it. Bukele actually had armed guards stop Senator Van Hollen on the road leading up to the prison. And, of course, he posted about that on social media.
We just tried to go visit him in prison just to check on his conditions. Is he doing okay? Because nobody has any communication with him since he was illegally abducted from Maryland and sent to CCOT prison in El Salvador, which is a U.S. District Court judge said was a violation of all his due process rights.
So, yeah, the judges are siding against Trump on this, and they do admit, the Trump administration does admit, they deported him to El Salvador. Now that he is in their custody, El Salvador is not going to, I'm going to put this in air quotes, give him back, because what El Salvador does with MS-13 gang members is they lock them up. That's what they do. And so this really is an issue with El Salvador, not America. I do believe, though, that Donald Trump, and I mentioned this in the previous hour, I find it interesting what Donald Trump said about this guy, Abrego, because Kilmar Abrego Garcia, because one of the things that Trump is doing, it seems like he's kind of trying to maybe distance himself from it. Like, I don't really know what's going on with this. And so I do wonder if they're setting the stage for this guy to come back. I don't know, but I'm getting that feeling. We'll continue the discussion coming up. 7:15, time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather goes, Friday today, a high of 85 and sunny. Saturday, a high of 87, partly cloudy. Sunday, high of 86 and partly cloudy as well. Appreciate you listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So as far as Kilmar Abrego Garcia goes, one of the things that Van Hollen has been saying is, listen, we just wanted to make sure that he was okay.
Today's purpose was just to see what his health condition is. And these soldiers were ordered to prevent us from going any farther from this spot. I understand we're about 3 kilometers now from CCOT. And as you can see, they're letting other cars go by, but they stopped us because they're under orders not to allow us to proceed to check on the well-being of Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
So one of the things that happened is, you know, when the photos came out, Abrego Garcia, he was all nicely dressed. Somebody said they were having margaritas. I don't know if that's the case or not.
That was the Salvadoran president kind of joking about it. Oh, look, they're having margaritas.
Were they having margaritas?
No, they were having glasses of water.
Okay, very good. It would have been funny if they were having margaritas.
Maybe, kind of.
But they did get the chance to meet. Van Hollen, again, did not release any videos, but said he's going to have a big press conference today. Joan, do we know what time have you?
They haven't said what time to expect that press conference now.
All right. Fox News, by the way, because there is this debate about whether or not he was actually a gang member or not. Fox News spoke to a sheriff in Maryland who said there is no debate. Abrego Garcia is a gang member.
1,000%.
1,000.
No doubt. Not only that, he's no doubt, and he's a domestic violence abuser. I mean, in our community, we would screen him working with ICE, and hopefully they would decide to take removal proceedings for just that reason. And he's been through removal proceedings before, and they asked for him to be removed, and yet he was still here. So kudos on the Trump administration for removing a criminal. Horrible on Senator Van Hollen for wanting to bring him back.
Okay. All right, so this story has a lot of angles. The reality is that Donald Trump is on the right track. Abrego Garcia is a bad dude. And by the way, we have an update to the story that I broke here yesterday on WTN regarding the Tennessee Star's reporting that he was stopped in the state of Tennessee a couple of years ago as he was transporting a total of seven people from, I think it was Texas to Maryland, right? He was caught in Tennessee, human trafficking. Michael Patrick Leahy and the Tennessee Star, they've now confirmed that stop through the Tennessee Highway Patrol, that he was stopped by the THP. Now the THP, they are demanding, listen to this, I thought this was interesting. The Tennessee Highway Patrol, they're demanding that Michael Patrick Leahy go through the hoops of taking steps to comply with Tennessee's open records law. I'm not sure why they don't just give him the information, but whatever. I thought that was kind of weird. Maybe that's the way things usually happen. But I think that they should simply answer the questions. But here we are on this Friday. The Democrats clearly are on the wrong side of this. Polling shows, by the way, that yes, the American people do approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing on illegal immigration. Yesterday, we had Senator Bill Hagerty on. He spoke about this, agreeing with me that the Democrats right now, certainly Senator Chris Van Hollen out of Maryland, they look incredibly out of touch.
The Democrats are so far off base in terms of their ability to connect with the American public. It's just shocking to me that they are moving in the direction that they are, arguing over process issues and trying to defend democracy, quote in quotes, because some procedural error that some lawyer found that might be used to bring this criminal back to the United States hasn't been followed. It's just shocking to me, and they look, again, as you said, just completely out of touch. I love the exclamation point because they are far distant from where the heart of the American public is.
He is absolutely right, and you know who really, to me, kind of gets the game ball, in addition to Jeremy Faison from Tennessee State Legislature? Stephen Miller from the Trump administration, who absolutely went to town on the media, on this story yesterday, and that story is coming up. Right now, 7:20 on Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones has the news at 7:30. Joan.
Yeah, the search is on for the motive behind yesterday's shooting at FSU. Also, the longest ever sentence for a dog attack. Tell you that story coming up here at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$7:21 on WTN. Dan Mandis here. It is spring rebate madness time at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. I want you to listen to these rebates. A mini split 17 SEER or a heat pump 17 SEER. That is going to be an $800 rebate. Heat pumps 15 and 16 SEER from Busy Bee, a $500 rebate. And duct sealing or repair, that is a $300 rebate from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Now listen. Join the Beehive Club like I have. I did that like 10 years ago, and it really is a great deal that is better this month. You get a $50 rebate on your spring and fall tune-up if you join the Beehive Club today. What that means is that you've already saved enough money to pay for the Beehive membership for the year. And by the way, they'll even file those rebates so you don't have to. Find them online, busybeehvac.com, busybeehvac.com, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com. Dan Mandis here. You know, spring wedding season and bathing suit season, both are approaching. If you're a bride, a bridesmaid, maybe a groom or a groomsman, maybe you're going to be at a wedding. You're not exactly confident about looking your best. My friends at Contours Med Spa in Cool Springs, they can help you. Their red light technology is going to help you lose a couple of inches across the belly, or that first treatment is free. And if you're not fully satisfied, you don't pay. And right now, that first treatment is only $99 when you call this phone number right now if you're one of the first 10 callers. 615-236-9960. By the way, this might be your last opportunity to take advantage of this great deal. So right now, $99. This is usually a $600 value. First 10 callers, 615-236-9960. You're going to get that $600 treatment for only $99. Now, it's FDA approved. It is incredibly unique and one of the only places in Tennessee that does offer red light technology. This is for both guys and girls. And so right now, first 10 callers get that Belly Buster special, $99, typically a $600 value. 615-236-9960, 615-236-9960, ContoursLLC.com. $727, Nashville's Morning News for a Friday. Dan Mandis here along with Joan Jones. KGB Jeff Malinoff is producing. So Stephen Miller, of course, you know, he is very much higher up in the Trump administration, policy advisor. And we're talking about the fact that Senator Van Hollen met with Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia. And one of the things that Stephen Miller pointed out yesterday, this was on Fox News, is that clearly the Democrats have obviously picked the wrong side. And it does show how absurd politics is these days.
In American politics, where we have one party led by President Donald Trump that fights for Americans, and a second party, I guess led by AOC, that fights for illegal aliens. But not just illegal aliens, criminal, wife-beating, terrorist illegal aliens. You have the entire machinery of the Democrat Party using all of its power not to fight for lower costs, as President Trump is, or better trade deals, as President Trump is, or lower taxes, as President Trump is, but to fight to bring this illegal alien with all those horrific crimes and allegations and history against him back to the United States, where he can do what? He can commit additional acts that threaten the safety of the American people. This is the biggest, sharpest contrast you will ever see between the priorities of President Trump and the priorities of the Democrat Party.
And see, I was saying earlier that I'm really glad this happened, because it is forcing the Democrats to take the side of a wife-beating MS-13 gang member who was here illegally. I mean, this is not a stellar individual. And so the Democrats have now, again, forced to take sides in the wrong side. By the way, the very latest on this, in an order Thursday, the Fourth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals rejected the Trump administration's plea for an emergency stay in Abrego Garcia's case, requesting that the White House should no longer be required to facilitate his return. So my answer to all of that would be very simple, because clearly 2 judges declared him an MS-13 gang member. Trump has designated MS-13 as a terrorist organization, so he got deported to El Salvador, as the policy goes. And El Salvador, as their policy, jails these types of gang members. The administration has admitted that it was an error to deport him to El Salvador, but they're not really fighting to bring him back, and I don't believe that they should. He's a gangbanger. Leave him in the prison in El Salvador, in my opinion. 7:30 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
Good morning. It is 7:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We've got your traffic and weather on the way. Stick around. Police are getting the credit for quickly taking down the shooter at Florida State University yesterday. And today, the search is on for a motive in that shooting.
Chaos in and around the Student Union building as gunshots rang out just before noon Thursday.
I heard about 12 shots go off in my vicinity, probably around 300 feet from me.
Police analyzing disturbing video which appears to show a man squaring off and firing. People heard screaming as they ran for cover. More than 3 hours after the first gunshots, the school announcing law enforcement neutralized the threat. Authorities say they shot him after he ignored repeated commands to drop his weapon.
That's ABC's Faith Abube. Now, that gunman is the stepson of a sheriff's deputy. 2 people were killed, several others hospitalized. In Ohio, a woman and her son were sentenced to more than a decade in prison after their 2 pit bulls mauled a 73-year-old woman to death. The dogs escaping through the front door of the home. Those same dogs had mauled another neighbor in the months before, killing her puppy. Yesterday's sentencing comes at a time of increasing attacks by vicious dogs across the country that have disproportionately targeted children under the age of 10. Ohio state law allows vicious dogs to kill twice before they're required to be put down. The Saks Fifth Avenue Global Fulfillment Center in Laverne is set to close at the end of June. Now, 446 people who work there have been notified that they're being laid off. The decision comes nearly a year after the Saks parent company announced a merger with fellow Lux brand Neiman Marcus. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Dan Mandis here, 7:32, and I've got a question for you. If your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Now, if you don't know, you really do need to ask. And I know. I've been reading this script for a long time. But every week we hear from people that say, I finally checked with my insurance company. I've been listening to you do this commercial for a long time. I finally decided to ask. And this particular listener said, I was shocked that my insurance company told me that if such an event happened and my roof was destroyed and I had a 15-year-old roof, they would not pay me full replacement cost. That's what I've been telling you. You've got to check with your insurance company, then call my friends at King & Associates. they will pay full replacement cost if your roof is destroyed. So whether you have to replace that 15-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they do pay for it to be replaced, period. It is that kind of focus on customer service that makes King & Associates Insurance one of the best insurance companies around. Call them at 615-329-8121, 615-329-8121. Get your Royal Review, tkinginsurance.com. Dan Mandis here. How do I depend on Xfinity? Let me count the ways. Now, I've got a lot of writing on my rock-solid internet from Xfinity. Riker, of course, he does his homework and all of that gaming that he does up in his room. Amy working all day long from home. And, of course, yours truly, always prepping and always doing shows from my basement as well. All of that courtesy of Xfinity. By the way, if something does go wrong, they can make it right with 24/7 customer service for whenever you need it. And you know, with Riker in the house, he is 11, it is critical that we are able to check out what he's watching. And with Xfinity, you can. One of many reasons why I've been an Xfinity customer for literally years. Now, you can depend on these folks at Xfinity as well. So check them out online anytime at Xfinity.com. That's Xfinity.com, 1-800-XFINITY, or stop by an Xfinity store today.
So out at the airport this morning, it's an accident eastbound 40 at the on-ramp from Donaldson Pike, exit 216B. And one of our super texters said that's an ugly accident. Careful as you travel in that area this morning. At the Gulch, Broadway at 14th Avenue North, an accident. Got another one this morning, Old Hickory Boulevard at Gallatin Pike. And one in Nashville on Smith Springs Road at Old Murfreesboro Pike. That one involving some injuries. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.36, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I got two things to say. Actually, three things to say.
I do too. Go ahead.
All right. So, number one, Joan, there's a lot of controversy over whether or not Abrego, Garcia, and that senator were having margaritas.
That was my confession. Thank you. Yes, I see the pictures now. Somebody brought it to our attention.
Yeah.
That they're actually sitting with, yes, glasses of water, but at some point they bring in what looks like margaritas. I mean, it's in a glass. It has salted rims, a swizzle stick, as somebody said, and a cherry on the side. So, yeah, it looks like they had a drink.
All right, so that's number one.
Yeah, crazy.
Number two, I'm sorry for the Metallica ad.
Please, it's hurting. It's hurting my head. Is it hurting your head?
No, I actually liked it.
Oh, gosh.
I'm going to admit I'm not necessarily a Metallica fan.
Yeah.
But I love that Metallica has been around so long. And I remember them, if I remember right, from high school, right? So they've been around for a long time. And they're a great band. So that's number two. And I think, and I may be getting my Metallica and Megadeth confused, I believe that the lead
who doesn't, right?
Right, I know. But I believe the lead singer of Metallica is a born-again Christian. I believe.
Oh.
I believe. KGB,
Well, that makes
is the
it
lead
okay,
singer
then.
of Metallica a born-again Christian? James Hetfield?
What's his name? Hedfield?
James Hedfield. I don't know. I thought it was James Hetfield. Whatever. Anyway, and but I'm sorry that has triggered a lot of people on the super text line today, and so that's my I think I said 3, but I don't know what the third one was. Anyway, I was going to ask you, Joan.
Oh, he's a Christian Scientist.
Okay. Do you believe, based on this comment from Donald Trump,
Mr. President, if we're hold you in contempt, will you take steps to return Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia to the United States and put him in front of a judge?
Well, I'm not involved in it. I'm going to respond by saying you'll have to speak to the lawyers, the DOJ. I've heard many things about him, and we'll have to find out what the truth is.
So do you feel like Trump may be distancing himself a little bit from this based on that comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure I was on the right track.
Yeah, for sure. It is kind of one of those pass-off things. Like, we're going to let the lawyers take care of that.
Let the lawyers deal with it.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, happens.
Right. And that's probably smart for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think personally, I do believe that it is. But it is smart too.
It may be smart, but here's what I want to see. I want to see somebody going after this. Like, I don't feel like the right. Of course, because the media has the stage and they're presenting all kinds of stuff. I just feel like Republicans, not lawmakers, but like Pam Bondi, needs to get on this.
Yeah.
It needs to be settled now.
Yeah. Stephen Miller, Pam Bondi, get on it. 3618 says, okay, you know what? I'm going to ask this question, super texters. Y'all complain about the Cars for Kids commercial, so would you rather hear Cars for Kids or Metallica? I vote for Metallica. Sorry.
I think I'd go for Cars for Kids.
Yes,
I would.
No way.
I hate that Metallica stuff. Honestly, it makes my head hurt.
And Cars for Kids doesn't break your mind?
3618 says this, you've made me really angry, Dan, over this whole foreign dude in El Salvador BS that I'm having to listen to, and now you just want to push the rest of my buttons by crapping all over Metallica. I wasn't crapping over Metallica. That was Joan. And you didn't even get his name right. I'm telling you what, Dan. Well, Dan is what so 3618 is well danning me.
Well, he didn't say you have a good day, Dan. He didn't add on to
No, he didn't. He didn't go Sapicki on me.
Yeah.
He didn't go full on Sapicki on me.
He didn't go the combination.
Well, you have a good day, Dan. Oh my God. That remains one of my ultimate favorite moments so far in Nashville. I've had a lot of them.
The best part is it goes so well with Well Dan.
It does.
It works.
Does. I was thinking of editing them both together, and then my sign off every day would be, well, Dan, you have a good day, Dan. And just last thing of Nashville's morning news every day. I could do that, but that would take more effort on my part, and I'm really lazy. Anyway, so yeah, I believe that Donald Trump is trying to distance himself from this whole thing.
I'm getting a lot of hate.
Yeah, someone even said, that's it, Joan has to go over our dead body. Over the audience's dead body, too.
I used to be a Joan fan.
Joan's
goodness.
stock just went
down.
Gosh. I used to be a Joan fan. Stop blaming Joan, Dan. You're nonsense. What am I blaming Joan for?
Are we seeing a Joan economic disaster
2166, another vote for Cars for Kids. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
For once, I disagreed
Mondale
with
got a
Joan.
state in his election. Doesn't mean it was important.
1993 says, no, Joan, for once I disagree with Joan. I would so much rather have 100,000 Metallica commercials than even one more Cars for Kids.
Dan, do we need to do a new poll? Is this a poll-worthy thing?
You know what? Go ahead.
All right.
What are now, the poll, you watch us on YouTube, and
yeah,
I got to remind people more. I get yelled at every day. So watch the YouTube channel, like and subscribe. Please tell all your friends and get corporate off my back. But when you go, you can take the Daily Dan poll. Now, what is the current poll? Remind me, KGB.
Should President Trump walk away from Ukraine? And it's 80 yes to 20 no. So it's another landslide.
Okay, very good. So
this one might be close. We'll see.
So which would you rather hear, the Cars for Kids or Metallica commercial? Or which is worse, Cars for Kids or a Metallica
We'll do
commercial?
which is worse.
No,
Listen.
Jim, I cannot go back to Philly. Jeez.
Wow.
That's harsh.
Yeah.
Not only do they want you to not blast Metallica, but they want you to face death in Philadelphia. All right, there you go. Let's see. By the way, speaking of President Trump and this whole conversation with Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah.
This is some breaking news. It happened we started breaking right when we got on the air this morning. Marco Rubio says, you know what? It's time. Hey, Zelensky and hey, Putin, it's time to crap or get off the pot.
So we need to determine very quickly now, and I'm talking about in a matter of days, whether or not this is doable over the next few weeks. If it is, we're in. If it's not, then we have other priorities to focus on as well.
I love that. Now, if I were to take the Daily Dan poll, I believe that it is time to move on. And I like that Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, Marco Rubio is saying that it is time to move on. We do have other priorities. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. And we've spent, what did we figure out? Over $70 billion. I think it's more than that, but $70 billion at least on Russia and Ukraine. And it is time to move on.
It's time to wash our hands and let
Europe
take care of Europe things.
That's exactly right. Very good, Joan. Let Europe take care of Europe things. That's exactly right.
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome, Joan. Wow. And Metallica rocks.
Someone said Not Like a Metallica is un-American. Aren't they an English band?
No, man. They're from San Francisco.
Are they? I might be getting mixed up. Maybe I'm getting mixed up with other metal
Now,
bands.
San Francisco these days is a lot like Europe. Just
True.
dirty and gross. Needles all over the place.
I'm mixing them up with another band. Who am I mixing?
Anyway, 7:45, time to check the roads on WTN. $7:45 as far as your weather goes today. You're going to have a high of 85 and sunny. Saturday, highs of 87, partly cloudy. Sunday, high of 86 and partly cloudy. Rick says the Cars for Kids commercial does for radio what Kamala Harris's laugh did for the election last year. Very good.
Yes.
So at the moment, just an update, it kind of a lot of people voted right away. Cars for Kids is currently in the lead as the worst at 70%.
Now, I want, Chris, I should say, Joan, you may need to get additional security because Chris Sandoval, the same guy that said that he absolutely loved your hair color earlier, is now saying that Joan is our spring.
Oh, see that?
I thought you were about to say he turned on her already.
Yeah. No.
7333 says KGB is thinking of the Beatles.
Yeah, that's not it.
All right, moving right along. Marco Rubio also said this about walking away from Ukraine and Russia.
I can tell you this. This war has no military solution to it. It really doesn't. It's not going to be decided with neither side has some strategic capability to end this war quickly.
I mean, one of the things that I've been saying all along was that we, as in America and Europe as well, we've been giving Ukraine just enough money not to win and not to lose. It's like they just, for whatever sick reason, everybody wants this war to keep on going. Now, the cynical side of me, of course, there was that storyline way back when where the money that was going to Ukraine was actually being funded right back into Democrats. And I don't know if that's true or not. But here's the thing, is that enough is enough. And so Marco Rubio, and they're in the midst, they at least were in the midst of discussions. I mean, we all know what happened with Zelensky. And so in that one fateful White House meeting that the argument happened between Zelensky and J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. But, I mean, Marco Rubio, he's been flying all over creation trying to, get these two sides on the same page. And he obviously hasn't been able to do it. They had a ceasefire for like 30 minutes or something, didn't they? But now, last night, didn't Russia Joan, I know that you were reporting it earlier, and I apologize for asking you to repeat what you said earlier. I don't know if you've got it up, but last night, didn't Russia actually bomb the living you-know-what out of Ukraine?
Yeah, they sent a bomb into Kharkiv and hit a residential building.
All right.
On Good Friday.
Yes, on Good Friday.
And we know that both countries are Christian in nature, and so, that's really disappointing.
Do you know what I would ask? Do you know what actually would be an interesting question to ask? Maybe I'll do this in the 8 o'clock hour. Who do you blame for the Ukraine-Russia war not starting? Who do you blame for the Russia-Ukraine war not ending? Do you blame Russia or do you blame Ukraine?
Do you blame Joe Biden?
Well, I blame Joe Biden for starting it. Here's what I blame Joe Biden for.
He could have done a whole lot more at ending it.
Joe Biden, number one, could have done a lot more with his week A sanctions as Vladimir Putin. Oh, gosh, this goes back so far. So let's just go through it real quick. Joe Biden, his failed pullout of Afghanistan, emboldened Vladimir Putin. That's number one. Number two, Biden's weak sanctions when Putin was building and amassing his force on the Ukraine border. Joe Biden's very weak sanctions and his very weak opinions on all of this, his statements, basically told Vladimir Putin, go right on in. So that's number two. Number three, Joe Biden continued to placate Vladimir Zelensky, funding this war and never actually engaging with Vladimir Putin. Joe Biden never, ever made any attempt to stop this war at all. And so I think, yeah, Joe Biden could have done, and Donald Trump has said that, where Biden didn't do diddly or squat to end the war. As a matter of fact, he did more to facilitate the carnage. Here's more Marco Rubio.
I always remind everybody that part of the sanctions against Russia, many of them, are European sanctions that we can't lift if that's ever to be part of a deal. So they're going to have to be involved no matter what. It's their continent. This is happening on the continent of Europe. And so obviously European powers will care deeply about what happens. So they have a stake in this, and we recognize it. And but in the end, I think we all want the same thing. I think from the U.S. perspective, we've spent 3 years, billions of dollars supporting the Ukrainian side. And but now we've reached a point where we have other things we have to focus on.
So there you go. So I think it is great if we are going to walk away from this. And Joan, you and I were talking earlier about the fact that this really is a signal to both Vladimir Putin and Ukraine and Vladimir Zelensky, and also to Europe, that if we're going to wash our hands of this, the big question is, okay, well then what happens with all of that aid that we have been giving to Ukraine? I mean, when he says we're going to walk away and we've got other priorities, what exactly does that mean? Like, let's define that a little bit more. Are we no longer going to give Ukraine weaponry? Are we no longer going to fund not only this war, but also the Ukrainian government? We've also been giving a lot of money to the nation of Ukraine so that they can continue to do, to live. We're actually giving money to the citizens of Ukraine as well. We're propping up their economy, so on and so forth. And if we're walking away from the big mineral deal, you remember the whole mineral deal that was, being discussed as well. And I just think that the administration, they do have a lot of other things that they want to focus on as we are 3 months in. So we'll have to see what happens. And some people are saying that Marco Rubio was speaking out of turn. I don't think anybody in this administration, with the exception of some of the guys talking about tariffs, I don't think anybody in this administration actually doesn't say anything that Trump doesn't want them to say. This administration has been hyper-focused, really good, by the way, hyper-focused on messaging. And they've got great messaging right now. So I don't believe that Marco Rubio spoke out of turn. I think that this is exactly what the administration wants Europe to hear. I think this is exactly what the administration wants Zelensky to hear. And this is exactly what the administration wants Vladimir Putin and Europe to hear as well. It is 7:52. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And Joan Jones is in the WTN newsroom.
Yeah, we'll tell you how police finally tracked down the estranged husband of a woman who was murdered outside a Nashville elementary school. And it's been 30 years since the Oklahoma City bombing. We're going to take a look back here. That and more coming up at 8:30, make that 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$7:53 on WTN. Dan Mandis here. And let me ask you this question. What big events do you have planned? Whether it is maybe a big corporate event here in spring heading into summer. Maybe it's a family reunion. Maybe it's a wedding at your home, a birthday, a graduation. My friends at Nashville Tent and Awning, they can help you with an incredible enclosure that could be installed anywhere. So if you have, I don't know, let's just say a wedding, and you want to do it in your backyard, and it is a July wedding. Well, Nashville Tent and Awning, they can put up a really fancy tent or enclosure that is going to protect you from the heat, and you can do that wedding in your backyard. They're really reasonable as well. You know, Nashville Tent and Awning, they've been around since 1884. They are a Nashville institution, and they've worked with the likes of the Titans, Vanderbilt University, and, of course, the Grand Ole Opry. They're one of the top companies in Nashville. So think about your backyard. You can actually extend your living space with a backyard enclosure so that you can enjoy the nice shade as the sun gets hotter and we head into summer. Now, again, if you've got an event for work coming up, they can help you there as well with one of their tent or enclosures. And they've got awnings for any style of building that is going to improve the look and the feel of your home or office. Get some visuals and check it all out at their website, ntaco.com and taco.com, 615-329-3701. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. Solid craftsmanship and built to last since 1884. Nashville Tent and Awning. $7:56 on WTN. Dan Mandis here for USS, United Structural Systems. I've been telling you about them for years because I'm actually a client of United Structural Systems. They've been out to my house many times. Now, they're experts in waterproofing, concrete leveling, and foundation repair. This is a great company, and again, they have helped me several times with my home, and I do proudly endorse them. I am, by the way, with USS, one of 30,000 satisfied customers. And listen to this recent review on Google. A guy says that USS, they were highly professional. The crew was phenomenal from start to finish. They treated his home as if they were working on their own. He gives USS 5 stars all the way, as do I. Now, United Structural Systems, they're not going to charge you for any unnecessary repairs, and you're not going to pay a dime until the work is done and you're a satisfied customer. So they can help you with basement and crawl space waterproofing, basement wall stabilization, and foundation repair. To name just a few, go to their website. They have a ton of services that they can offer you. We guarantee our best. Call USS, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, USSTN.com. 7:58, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Just really quickly. So, you know how old Bernie Sanders and AOC are running around the country, flying around the country, screaming about the oligarchy and all that?
Yeah.
So, you know they're flying in a big old private jet,
Exactly.
right?
Nice, beautiful.
Nice, beautiful.
Cushy, comfy,
massive jet.
Bernie has 3 homes, for goodness sakes.
Well, and of course, we all know that he's a millionaire as well. He's always castigating the millionaires and billionaires.
No, remember what he used to say, nothing but millionaires. Then he became a millionaire, then started going after billionaires.
That's exactly right, KGB.
You can smell the hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm. By the way, do you think that there's some people out there now that are talking about AOC in 2028?
Yes.
Is she? How old is she?
I saw that she just turned 35, so she's
She would have been
she's capable.
I'm pretty sure she would have been eligible last year, this last election. Like this would have been her first time of being eligible, if I'm not mistaken. She just turned 35.
Yeah, but you know what?
going into that.
They had the force known as Hurricane Kamala, so you know.
Well, I'm just saying age-wise.
Okay, but she may, number one, she may be going after Chuck Schumer's spot in the Senate, or you think she'll actually run for president?
I do. I think she's got that chutzpah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
that's the word.
Yeah, chutzpah. Yeah. So anyway, I don't think that she would win because I think that if you actually got her on a debate stage as opposed to just, rah-rahing an audience, I think you actually get her on a debate stage, she would not be impressive at all. But we'll have to wait and see what happens because sometimes in politics, the shallower you are, the more chance you have. It is 8 o'clock on Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
Good morning, 8 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're hearing that there's a lot of backup this morning on Route 40, on I-40, the eastbound ramp from Donaldson Pike. There's a crash. It's an overturned vehicle and a big backup on 40. Careful as you're traveling in that area. I have some mixed reports about that this morning. In the news, got him. That man that was wanted for the stabbing death of a woman outside Chadwell Elementary School has now been captured. News 2's Alicia Wemberly reports.
That's when police say he stabbed his 52-year-old wife to death in the parking lot of Chadwell Elementary School in Madison. She was working as a custodian at the school. A fellow employee found her body.
A little operator error there. Sorry about that. Police were tipped off to Rubio Perez's whereabouts at a Madison high-rise apartment complex. He was booked into jail last night. It appears Maryland Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen did get what he wanted. He met face-to-face with Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia last night. This happened as Van Hollen was posting on X that he called Abrego Garcia's wife, Jennifer, afterward. We'll hear more from Van Hollen at a news conference later today. Meantime, El Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele posting on X that now that he's been confirmed as being healthy, Abrego Garcia gets the honor of staying in El Salvador's custody. It was one of President Trump's first orders of his second term, and now his fight to end birthright citizenship is headed for the nation's highest court.
The Supreme Court announcing it will hear oral arguments on the president's effort to end birthright citizenship, telling the parties to prepare to make their case in less than a month.
I am so happy. I think the case has been so misunderstood.
On Inauguration Day, President Trump signed an executive order ending birthright citizenship, even though it's protected by the 14th Amendment. Lower courts then pausing the president's efforts. It's one of several escalating battles between Trump and the courts, many focused on his immigration policy.
That's ABC's Mary Bruce. Saturday will mark 30 years since terrorism came to America's heartland, carried on the back of a Ryder rental truck. ABC's Jim Ryan was in Oklahoma City on April 19th, 1995, covering the bombing of the Alfred Murrah Federal Building.
Hundreds of federal employees had settled into their desks in the 9-story building that Wednesday morning, and children played in the daycare center on the second floor. A meeting was being recorded across the street when, at 9:03, A truck loaded with 5,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate and fuel oil exploded outside. 168 people were killed, including 19 children. Domestic terrorist Timothy McVeigh was convicted and put to death in 2001. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. No stock trading today. Traders are taking the day off for Good Friday. Stocks ended with losses yesterday. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Okay, got an overturned vehicle, 40 eastbound at the on-ramp from Donaldson Pike, and that crash has the on-ramp temporarily, partially blocked. We're hearing reports that 40 on the eastbound side is very jammed up this morning. Careful as you head out that way. Also, Broadway at the Gulch at 14th Avenue North, there's an accident. Another one involving some injuries on Smith Springs Road at Old Murfreesboro Pike. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.807 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News for a Good Friday. You know, Sunday marks Donald Trump's third month in office. Now, we're talking earlier about how it feels like what Donald Trump has done and his administration has done is they really have compacted 4 years in a 3-month period. And that is what it seems like. And so you go through all of the things that Donald Trump has done for our country in the first 3 months. And as I go through some of this, need some audio, KGB. As I go through this, I want you to think about, it's almost like with Donald Trump, there is an equal and opposite reaction from the Democrats, because everything that Trump does, they have a spectacularly horrific reaction. For example, the southern border. We do know that he did and has deported all of those illegal gang members.
At our southern border, southwest border crossings in March fell to the lowest level in American history, down 94% from March of last year under President Biden, when 137,000 illegal aliens poured across our wide-open southern border.
I mean, listen to those numbers. It is astonishing when you just look at the numbers and you listen to the numbers. So I'm going through a lot of Donald Trump's first 3 months in office, his victories. And clearly one of them is taking control of the southern border.
The Los Angeles Times captured the Trump effect on the border with a recent article. Their headline read, "California-Mexico border, once overwhelmed, is now nearly empty." With so few migrants coming into the U.S., they wrote, "Shelters that once served migrants have completely closed."
Right. And obviously, it was relatively easy if you think about it. Remember when Alejandro Mayorkas, and I don't have any audio, you're welcome, but remember when Mayorkas and Biden and Kamala Harris and all of these jackholes on the left would be like, well, the system is broken, we're waiting for Congress to act. All of that was BS. Donald Trump literally fixed the problem in a couple of months. And so particularly on the border, particularly the conversation about the border, it shows you how intentional it was with the Biden administration allowing all of these folks into our country, and of course the parolees as well, who they flew into the country. I think that was a story earlier this week. Was it, how many? Thousands. How many of those parolees were flown in? Was it 500,000? For whatever reason, that number is in my mind. I don't know if that's true or not. But we do know that a lot of them were the ones who were flown into our country. We do know that they were unvetted. We also know that they flew them into cities across America. Didn't tell us, including Tennessee, didn't tell us who they were or when they were coming. And so Trump has so easily dealt with closing the border and stopping all of this that, again, it proves that the Biden administration was intentional in wanting all of these illegal aliens to come in, which proves that people like me and people like you, when we would say they're doing this on purpose, it proves that we were right. Doge, of course, that has been a massive success. It doesn't matter what the Democrats are screaming. The Democrats' reaction to Elon Musk has been nothing short of peculiar and damning for the Democrats. Now, according to the Doge website, so far, they have saved $155 billion or $962 per taxpayer. Now, equally as important is that they have exposed all the waste and all that fraud that was being done, especially under Joe Biden. Here's Elon Musk.
I mean, the fraud we're seeing is overwhelmingly on the left. These NGOs are almost all left-wing NGOs that are being funded, for example. They hate me because Doge is being effective, and Doge is getting rid of a lot of waste and fraud that people on the left were taking advantage of. That's what it comes down to. This is the thing that why they really hate my guts and want me to die.
I love that. This is why they hate my guts and they want me to die. Because he has saved $155 billion or $962 per taxpayer. Now, as you hear Elon Musk, and he's talking about how they want him to die, they literally want him to die. Big story the last couple of weeks was the assassination culture. Because with every success that I'm talking about with Donald Trump, it has led the Democrats to justify assassinating Donald Trump or Elon Musk. It is a horrifying thought. It is a horrifying conversation. But it is also very real. And, you know, there's some people that said, oh, well, that is just a silly poll and nobody really takes it seriously. Really? Okay. Then let me ask you this question. How many Democrats came out and disavowed that poll? Did any Democrat disavow that poll? Did any Democrat condemn the poll that showed that 55% of Democrats could justify, even partly justify, the assassination of Donald Trump or Elon Musk? Did anybody? The other question that I would have is, did any member of the Sunday shows, CNN, MSNBC, did any of them ask a Democrat if they condemn the notion of the assassination of Donald Trump or Elon Musk? They didn't ask. Do you know why they didn't ask? Because they didn't want to put them on the spot, because they know that if, say, for example, remember that audio, sadly I don't have it handy, but when they asked Chuck Schumer, when a conservative journalist asked Chuck Schumer if he would condemn this assassination culture, and he said, I don't want to talk about Elon Musk. So the reason the media didn't ask the Democrats about that is because they don't want to expose the Democrats for actually agreeing with the poll. And we're just kind of, I'm kind of riffing here, going through the first 3 months of Donald Trump and a lot of his victories. And by the way, his victories, in my opinion, far, far, far outweigh any defeats that he's had. It is 8:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. $8:15 as far as your weather for today. It's going to be a nice day and a great weekend. Today, a high of 85 and sunny. Saturday, a high of 87, partly cloudy. And on Sunday, high of 86 and partly cloudy. Thanks for listening to Nashville's Morning News. So we're going through and I'd be interested to know, on the super text line, has Donald Trump, and Joan, you can chime in here, because I'm trying to think of, and KGB if you want to, has Donald Trump had a serious defeat as of yet? I don't know
in this administration.
In this administration, like in the first 3 months, because I'm going through the victories of Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Has he had a major defeat? And I'm trying to think of the Supreme Court, and one doesn't come to mind. But of course, it's Friday, and I'm old, so I may have forgotten. So, but I can't.
And it's Dangria Day.
And it's Dangria Day. That's exactly right, Joan. So I'm trying to think of if Trump has had a major defeat as of yet. I mean, we had the whole Textgate thing, but I don't even think that was all that big of a deal. Nobody died.
They're trying. I mean, the media's trying.
Absolutely trying.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you want to talk about catastrophes, nobody died in Textgate as opposed to Joe Biden's massive foreign policy screw up where, the failed pullout of Afghanistan, all of that. So I don't want to.
So, okay. So somebody is 1726 said the Epstein file fluke.
You know what?
Failure. Epic fail.
Epic fail.
Yeah.
And you know what I said about that? I don't know if it was on there or off the air. They need to just shut up about that.
Yeah. If they don't have the goods, then just shut up.
I heard Pam Bondi the other day. I don't know where she was, but she said something to the effect of, I think it was in that cabinet meeting with Trump, where she said something about the Epstein files and so forth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just stop.
Yeah.
Just, if you don't have it, you don't have it. You need to stop.
Yeah. Agreed.
That is, and thank you, whoever that was, because that was a failure of Trump.
And quite frankly, I'd like Pam Bondi to stop showing up in media appearies and stick to her job. Like,
Chris Hand has arrived.
Yes,
that
he certainly has.
Yeah.
I really feel like, just shut up and
Stop
get
it
to
already
work
and do your job.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So yeah, that's one. But one of the big victories of Trump is, of course, keeping biological men out of women's sports.
I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated that we have to be here, that we as women have to stand before you all on national television demanding equal opportunities, demanding privacy in areas of undressing, demanding safety in our sports. Amazing to me that we are still here fighting this fight.
Yeah, that's Riley Gaines. And of course, the Republicans are dealing with all the lawsuits of keeping Middle Tennessee's own Riley Gaines, by the way. And she's talking about dealing with all of the lawsuits that are out there, and they are fighting this fight. But you know what? Donald Trump signed that executive order protecting women, protecting women's sports. Democrats, of course, lost their ever-loving minds. So there is that. And again, that is a great victory for Donald Trump, especially, and Joan and I, we talked about this, when the president was surrounded by all of those little girls as he signed that executive order. That was amazing. The tariff battle does continue, and it is early yet. We've already seen dividends from the tariff battle. You've got NVIDIA, you've got Hyundai, you've got Apple, Honda, many other companies saying that they are going to move some manufacturing operations here, much to the dismay of Democrats.
For the next 4 years, the Trump agenda is focused on Main Street. It's Main Street's turn. It's Main Street's turn to hire workers. It's Main Street's turn to drive investment. And it's Main Street's turn to restore the American dream.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And that was, of course, Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, when he said, and this was in a speech, that Trump understands there's concerns about the market, but his concern is bringing jobs back to America, and that is exactly what he is doing. And look, we have had some successes with the economy. Jobs are up. Inflation is down. Consumer spending is up. Gasoline prices have gone down. Investment is in America is up. Now, we have a long way to go in dealing with China, and I also understand that the ramifications of the tariff war, some of them have yet to be felt. I do understand that. I'm not naive enough to sit here and say, oh, we're not going to have any negative ramifications or consequences of the tariff war. Trump and Scott Bessent and others have actually come out and said, we will have some short-term consequences. This is a long-term play. And as I said yesterday, with my concern about this being, and it's a long-term play. My concern is for the midterm elections. We know that the Democrats, if they end up, Lord help us, with the majority in the House of Representatives again, all progress stops and impeachment hearings will begin. I can guarantee you that is what's going on. We have a long way to go. We are, though, of course, dealing with China the best that we can. Europe, by the way, is coming along and wanting to negotiate with Donald Trump. Just yesterday, I love this moment. Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, she was in Washington, D.C.
I know that when I speak about West, mainly I don't speak about a geographical space. I speak about a civilization. And I want to make that civilization stronger. So I think even if we have some problems, okay, between the two shores of the Atlantic, it is the time that we try to sit down and find solutions. So I want to thank President Trump for having accepted an invitation to pay an official visit to Rome in the near future and consider the possibility in that occasion to meet also with Europe. The goal for me is to make the West great again. Okay, and I think we can do it together.
Absolutely love that. She came in. People, by the way, are calling Giorgia Meloni the Trump whisperer. She is there, and they're saying that she is on a charm offensive with Donald Trump. But the reality is that she's saying all the right things. And so you just heard her singing the praises of Donald Trump, wanting to work as a team. And so she's now inviting Donald Trump and the rest of Europe to come to Rome to work out tariff deals and get on the same page. Now, the question is, what about China?
I have a very good relationship with President Xi, and I think it's going to continue. And I would say they have reached out a number of times. A lot, all the time. We're talking. I believe we're going to have a deal with China. And if we don't, we're going to have a deal anyway, because we're going to set a certain target, and that's going to be it.
So I just went through a lot of the Donald Trump victories and a lot of the will sees, because I think the tariff thing, I think that we are seeing early dividends, but this is one of those where we'll have to wait and see what happens. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the midterm elections. We'll have to wait and see what happens if the Republicans take the presidency again in 2028. Hopefully, and I believe it'll be either J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. The market, by the way, has been spooked. because you got all these naysayers that are, in my opinion, intentionally trying to spook the market and talk us into a recession. But Trump has to be fearless on this. By the way, a few other things that Donald Trump has succeeded in. He signed the Laken Riley Act, of course, that requires illegal aliens, the detention of illegal aliens charged with theft or violence. He's fast-tracking domestic oil production. He's wrestled control of the Panama Canal from China. He has secured the release of 11 American hostages. Still some work to do with Hamas, but, I mean, that's a pretty good feat. He's engaged in peace talks with Russia and Ukraine. Still no deal. I told you the news this morning, Marco Rubio is talking about walking away, and sometimes that is what you need to do, or at least that's what you need to threaten to do. And also, don't forget, he pardoned the J6ers. So Trump has had an enormous amount of success in his first 3 months. And, of course, the list goes on. Remember, Republicans are still on board with what he's doing. So says Harry Enton, who reported that his polling shows Republicans would not change their vote, even if they could.
What percentage would change their vote to a different candidate? We're talking just 2%, just 2%. That's not even a wide spot on the road. And then there's this additional 1% who say they would rather not vote. We're talking overall under 5% might or would have changed their vote, Donald Trump voters back in 2024. So if there was a repeat, if folks got to be able to redo their vote that they had back in 2024, would the result be any different? I doubt it would be. So the bottom line is this. If there's some idea out there that Trump voters are going around, man, I wish I had voted for Kamala Harris instead of Donald Trump, the numbers say that is a fanciful universe. It really, for the most part, does not exist.
8:25, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones is in the WTN newsroom. Joan, what's coming up?
We'll tell you what El Salvador's president says is next after a Maryland senator sat down with Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia last night. And some county workers admit they made a mistake that led to the flooding in a Montgomery County neighborhood. We'll have that and more coming up here at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here from my carpet cleaning company, Zero Res. Now, I've been a client for years with Zero Res, and one of the big reasons is that they really do help my allergies. Now, here we are in spring, friends, and so if you're suffering from allergies, you might have a dirty carpet. You know, carpet is the #1 air filter inside your home, and it actually filters out airborne particulates and pollen and bacteria, you name it. Zero Res is going to help your carpet filter it out by making sure that your carpet is clean. Now, Zero Res does this better than anyone. They don't use any harsh chemicals. They don't use any harsh soaps. Just powered water that leaves behind soft and fluffy carpets. Now, remember, a clean filter means a healthier home. Here in allergy season, that is critical for you and your family. So if allergies have started to turn up in the house, well, then you've got to call Zero Res because they will clean your carpet. And remember, that carpet is the #1 air filter in your home. Now, the other thing that I really like about Zero Res is they don't raise their prices. They haven't raised their prices in years. And every month, a new offer to save you money. Right now, 2 rooms of carpets cleaned for just $109. Plus, you're going to get a free hallway. One more time, 2 rooms of carpets cleaned for just $109, and you're going to get a free hallway with that deal. You're also going to get 25% off of area rugs. Restrictions may apply. Call them right now at 615-535-9376. 615-535-9376. Book online at ZeroResNashville.com. Dan Mandis here for Super Talk 99.7. And Mark Spain Real Estate. Avoid the stress of preparing to sell your home with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. You can skip the hassle of spring cleaning and sell your home fast for maximum value. Listen, with Mark Spain Real Estate, you don't have to worry about showings, open houses, costly repairs. Mark Spain Real Estate's guaranteed offer allows you to bypass the market and receive an all-cash offer and close within days. They've got over 12,500 five-star reviews. Let me tell you something. This is a great company. If you need to sell your home and you need to sell it quick, call Mark Spain Real Estate. They've been serving families for nearly 30 years. They've helped over 67,500 clients. So spring into action and sell your home with confidence. Find out what your guaranteed offer would be. There's no obligation. Call 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD. Find them online, markspain.com, and start packing.
Good morning. It's 8:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Residents of one Clarksville neighborhood angry after learning that county workers are to blame for flooding in their Farmington neighborhood. Here's Channel 4's Jordan James.
The Montgomery County Highway Department admitted in a news release they pumped water from an overflowing basin into the Farmington Basin. Residents say that caused widespread flooding in the neighborhood.
It's never flooded before, not February, not even during tornado.
The water ended up in Thayo Awulamade's backyard and crawl space. It's left her HVAC system damaged and her family now living in a hotel.
And those actions spilling some 250,000 gallons of water per minute into that basin in that neighborhood. A park in Murfreesboro is getting some new security cameras.
It comes after a teen girl was attacked during her morning jog earlier this week. Police are also saying that they plan to ramp up their patrols. The attack happened Monday morning. The 18-year-old was out for a run at the time. When she told police she made eye contact with a man, he grabbed and assaulted her before she was able to fight him off using self-defense skills.
That's Channel 4's Alexandria Adams. 23-year-old Xavier Carter was later arrested. On the House floor in the State House yesterday.
Wake up, we want freedom, all these racist policies, we don't need them.
Representative Justin Jones there during the debate of a bill that eliminates DEI from the state government and Tennessee colleges. Democrats say it rolls back civil rights protections for minorities, but Republicans say eliminating DEI ends discrimination and allows hiring based on merit. That bill did pass the House. It's headed to the Senate for a vote on Monday. Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Stocks not trading today. It is Good Friday and traders have the day off. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 8:32. Dan Mandis here. How do I depend on Xfinity? Let me count the ways. I've got a lot riding on my rock-solid internet from Xfinity. Both Amy and I, we do a lot of work from home. Riker, of course, doing the homework and the gaming that he does. All of that courtesy of Xfinity. By the way, if something does go wrong with Xfinity, they can make it right with 24/7 customer service for whenever you need it. And with Riker in the house, he is 11. It is critical that we're able to check out what he's watching and what he's doing online. And with Xfinity, you can depend on these folks. So check them out today, online, anytime, Xfinity.com. That is Xfinity.com. 1-800-XFINITY, that's 1-800-XFINITY, or stop by a store today. Dan Mandis here, the Glock Store. Listen, put this date aside, Saturday, May 31st. That is when the Glock Store is having their huge 5th annual open house. This is a huge two-way event. They've got the top vendors coming out, and you can check out great deals and firearms for every type of gun owner. And one great deal is on bullets, specifically Burrow bullets. They've got 50-round boxes, 250-round bullet bags, and 1,000-round tack packs that come in a Burrow bullet ammo box at the lowest price ever. Now, I have been to the 4 previous annual open houses at the Glock Store. These are amazing events. And again, the vendors are incredible. The Glock Store is my place to train. And you also, of course, to train, you need ammo. And they do have great deals on Burrow bullets. So check them out any day of the week. And remember, their 5th annual open house, it is coming up on Saturday, May 31st. Find them online. 2 websites, 2 convenient websites, shoot270.com and glockstore.com. The Glock Store, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere.
Looks like they're still working on that overturned vehicle. It's on the 40 eastbound on-ramp from Donaldson Pike, exit 216, and that on-ramp is partially blocked off. Smyrna, 24, the eastbound lanes at Almaville Road. There's a stalled-out car, and the right shoulder is blocked off. And 2 accidents on Old Hickory Boulevard. One is in Whites Creek, just east of Whites Creek Pike. The other one is in Hermitage. That one is north of I-40 East. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.837, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for the crisscross
applesauce.
I was about to say that.
Handoff.
Crisscross applesauce, baby.
Pepperoni pizza.
So
my wife, when you first started calling it crisscross, and I kept saying crisscross applesauce, I got home one day and she said, "Please,
don't do that.
Please don't do that anymore."
For the love of our marriage, don't do it.
I heard you were upset about the Metallica commercial.
I wasn't. Joan was.
Here's the thing. Nobody brought up the Christmas commercial that we're running.
It's almost like we're running them
Christmas.
back to back, too. It's so weird.
It's very bipolar.
Yeah.
So
Christmas in April.
It's April 18th. Like, are they that worried about ticket sales that they got to start?
I feel like those are
like months ahead of time.
Those are hot tickets, though. Come November, people really want those.
Do they?
I think so.
Yeah.
Amy Grant and Vince Gill. I mean, maybe they. I don't know.
It's like Super Bowl tickets. You always do it like way before the game is, so you got to get those tickets ahead of time.
But the commercial blocks sound a little bit bipolar when it's Christmas music and then it's like, get ready.
Dun, 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 dun.
Anywhere you roam. See, I hurt myself, and I don't even think
we're headed to hell.
Did I get that right?
I think we can all agree, though, the fact that there's no more glyphosate ads is nice.
Yeah, down with that.
I haven't heard of Cards for Kids in a while, to be fair.
I know, I miss them.
I don't.
You know what? Somebody texted into the super text line. They said, I knew something was missing. Cars for Kids is gone.
Was that conspiracy theory about them true? Did they get busted and shut down or something that we don't know about?
Maybe because we made fun of them for so long, they were like, can we stop playing this on the air?
Is that a thing, really?
Wasn't there? Yeah, there's all sorts of internet conspiracies around the Cars for Kids.
Joan Glock.
I just did.
And?
A week ago in Sierra Vista Herald, the annual Cars for Kids truck motorcycle show takes place. So it doesn't seem as though it's...
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Google AI says there's controversy over allegations of inadequate disclosure of its Jewish educational work, misleading donors, and excessive spending on advertising.
That's always, I think, been a thing with them, right?
That is.
So,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Moving right along. 5265 says, nobody is getting rid of Joan. This is what I love. No, this is what I love.
Oh, okay.
Nobody is getting rid of Joan. She is the best thing on the Dan Mantis show.
Facts.
Followed by KGB. And then Chris Hand at the handoff. And I'm like fourth. And by the way,
I'll take the silver.
I'm personally insulted that I came in third. Coming in behind Joan, no problem. The rest of the rankings, very questionable.
Come on, man.
Hey. I don't get a lot, okay? Can I have this?
And listen, if I'm going to be fourth, I'm going to be fourth. That's fine. You know what? I'm just above dead air.
You just edged it out.
That's exactly right. It was close.
It's an incredibly close race.
Man is in dead air. Oh, my gosh.
In the emergency tones.
It's so weird because that's who you were up against for the Marconi.
See, that's funny.
Dead air.
Yeah.
Dan Mandis or dead air. All right, moving right along. Let's see here. You know, off the air, we had a really interesting conversation about water picks.
Yes, we
and
did.
Chris wants to know why it is that I don't have a water pick sponsor. Because, you know, we were joking earlier in the week. It's been a heck of a week. So about how I had a stroke mid-show because I was in the middle of a monologue and suddenly I tasted bologna.
Yes.
You made me write it down. Just the word bologna.
And so Amy thought it was interesting that one of you, I don't know who it was, said, brush your teeth, Dan, because it's like a lack of oral hygiene.
Yeah. It sounds like something Chris would say.
But the funny thing is that Amy thought it was hilarious because I literally brush my teeth 3 times a day to the point where my gums are receding.
Oh, no.
And, my dentist is like, can you chill out?
Well, you're not supposed to scrub them.
By the way, I haven't had a cavity in years. I've had calories, trust me on that one, but no cavities in years. But anyway, so Chris said, how do you not have a water pick endorsement? Because after I extolled the virtues of water picks, Chris, what happened?
I went out and bought a water pick.
Seriously?
Exactly.
They're great.
Well, Kennedy's got braces now.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just a light bulb moment. Yep. I was like, we could use one of those.
Yeah.
And it was because of the recommendation of Dan Mandis. So I walked in today and I said, why don't you have a water pick endorsement?
I should.
Do you remember what you had to do before water picks when it came to braces and flossing?
I never had braces.
Oh, well.
I mean, I remember
You never had braces?
No.
Neither have I.
What?
Yeah, well, our teeth are naturally this straight, although I've got the big gap in mine.
I also don't. I have a cavity that I got a couple of years ago, but I mean, up until now, I've never had a cavity.
Ever?
No.
What you had to do was basically like line the floss into your braces and like tie a string to it so you can pull it back out, and then you can do it's unnecessary steps to floss.
Well, I hate flossing, but
Me
when you
too.
used to have to put the floss around your fingers to do it, that was tough.
Yeah.
Then they came up with the flossing picks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those are great. And now the water pick,
picks are awesome.
has changed my life.
I'm telling you need an endorsement.
Well, you know what? Somebody's got to tell the
yours-
sales department.
Your other endorsers are gone, hey, why don't you sell goods like that for me?
Yeah. Is yours a toothbrush and the water pick, or is it just a water pick? Because
Just a water pick.
I have a toothbrush that has the water pick inside of it, so I can do both.
No
Whoa.
kidding.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sure this is fascinating for everyone.
Yeah, people
Let's
love it.
move right along. So can we talk about the train wreck that was, Bobby says, Dan, be sure to floss. That's what the whole water pick thing is
We
about.
just had a 5-minute conversation.
What I know I'm going to get in trouble for. All right.
Dan, I need to see you in my office.
Dan, whenever you say something, just ask yourself this question. Yeah, but who cares?
Well, apparently people are just putting the chat is going crazy, so people are interested.
The engagement is high, Dan.
The engagement is high.
See, that's the stupid thing. Is it? I mean, I've had an Enfuego show today, right?
Hot fire, lava. Some of the kids have been saying.
Absolutely, hot takes all over the place. It's this and the debate over the Metallica show, the Metallica commercial that everybody wants to talk about.
That's the big takeaways.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, can we talk about this train wreck of a presser yesterday with Carmelo Anthony and the family?
How insane is that?
So, number one, I thought it was crazy. Now, I thought, and I was wrong, and people online have been wrong too, that the dude that was speaking, this Dominic Alexander, I thought he was his attorney.
No, it's the minister, right?
He's the minister who likes to act like an attorney.
Yep.
So
he's a minister?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know, to be honest with you, he sounds more like an attorney than a minister. So he got up there. Now, you know the story. Jeff Metcalf, the father of Austin Metcalf, shows up at this press conference, and the family had him escorted out.
And he didn't stab anybody.
Oddly enough, you're right. He didn't stab anybody.
Because he probably didn't even bring a knife.
And here's the crazy thing. The crazy thing is that it was open to the public. So they literally discriminated against Jeff Metcalf.
Can they legally do that?
Could
he have?
He probably could have.
Yeah.
But he's a gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Dominic Alexander. But this is what he said after they escorted out Jeff Metcalf.
I want to start off this press conference to say something as a deep note that I can tell America. What we've seen at the beginning of this press conference, the father being at this press conference, these are my words, don't quote anybody, is a disrespect to the dignity of his son.
I don't...
What a slime ball thing to say.
There's a little bit more to the soundbite, but I'm trying to figure out the rationale. Like and you know this about me, I truly try to understand what the other side's issue is with something somebody does. So I'm trying to understand what his rationale is for saying that. Do you, Joan or KGB or Chris, do you know what his rationale is for saying that?
The only thing I can think of is the rationale is continue to make Carmelo look like the victim.
Yeah,
yes.
That's exactly what it is.
So the whole framing around that is to make it seem like Carmelo Anthony is the one who's under attack here.
Yes.
Which is what they're trying to do. And this whole press conference yesterday was about that.
Next Generation Action Network from the beginning.
Did you notice how many times he said Next Generation Action Network?
Well, because this is promo for him.
Yes. Yep. I tried, honest engine here, I tried to make a montage of all the times he said it, and I ran out of time. That's how many times he said the name of his organization.
Has respected the loss of life. No matter our opinion of it, we have kept our opinion close. We have not attacked. We have not shared the information that was shared with us about Austin Metcalf. Because we respect the dignity of life and loss.
So do you think he purposely mispronounced his name?
Metcalf.
Yeah.
And also saying we don't spread the information as if he was a bad person.
That's exactly right. And he dangled it.
We have not shared the information that was shared with us about Austin Metcalf.
So, in other words, you know what this is gearing up for, right? They're gearing up to say that they have a witness that Austin said something racist or did something racist. I feel like that's where this is going. He's teeing it up.
Well, and they're going to do that's coming. I agree with you, but is that justification?
Right.
No, it's not justification. It's justification to his crowd.
Yes, but in the grand scheme of things, a word versus a weapon. Even if, first, I don't believe it. I just don't.
Correct.
I don't buy it for a second. But let's operate under their premise being true. It still doesn't negate the fact that the kid had a knife at a high school track meet, had his hand inside the backpack and said, touch me and see what happens, and then stabbed him in the heart.
Yep.
Well, Chris, it was raining. That's why.
Oh, the
Have you heard
weather.
that sound
Yes,
bite?
the weather. Why? It's the weather's fault.
Here's
This is, what we're witnessing
I'm
is
trying to find how many of y'all have asked the superintendent or one single board of trustee, why didn't you cancel or postpone with weather in that magnitude? You couldn't have a track meet in rain or thunderstorm or clouds.
That's right.
Y'all are the media. Ask your journalists, your weather journalists, how the weather was that day and that time. Y'all do that
weather
research.
journalists.
So let me
Ask the weather journalists.
So let me guess. Somehow the weather is racist.
It has to be.
Has to be.
But what we're witnessing is the rise of the victim industrial complex.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Like they are now understanding that you can do something wrong, and as long as you play the victim, you can raise a bunch of money and live the good life.
Yeah, but not everybody.
No, you're right. Not
You
everybody.
couldn't. I couldn't.
It's true.
He went on to insult the character of Jeff Metcalf, the father.
And just shows you all the character who is not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family, but he did it.
So, as I mentioned, I think it was in the 5 o'clock hour, Dominic Alexander, if he wants to talk about character, we can, because he is a convicted felon. I don't have time to get into all of it.
The minister.
Yeah. He's a convicted. You didn't know this?
A violent offender.
He. All right, I'll read it real quick.
I said I don't have time to get into this. Whoa, Kimo
you don't
Sabi.
know about it? The activist was arrested in 2019, per the Daily Caller. Arrested in 2019 on a felony charge of family violence after his partner accused him of trying to strangle her. Citing court documents, his partner later signed an affidavit just prior to a grand jury indictment saying that she wanted no further part of this prosecution on account of how the police handled the case. So she's not saying that he didn't do it or that she's changed her mind or the accusation.
She was more anti-police than she was anti-abuse.
That's exactly right.
Got it.
The activist was also arrested in 2009 for causing serious head injuries to a 2-year-old.
Oh.
The kid was that of his ex-girlfriend. The Dallas Observer reported, while Alexander initially claimed the baby fell off the couch when he was babysitting, an investigator said a doctor reported that the severity of the injuries did not match up with that excuse. He ultimately confessed to shaking and hitting the baby, 2 years old, with an object.
This is why he has absolutely no remorse as he defends a murderer and acts like a victim in grandstands.
The Dallas Morning News says he pleaded guilty in 2011. The judge sentenced him to probation.
Probation for beating up a 2-year-old.
Beating up a 2-year-old.
Beating up a 2-year-old. Hey, just
with an object.
Please don't do it again.
He has 12 mugshots.
There's a total. His mugshots are making their way across the internet. He was sentenced in 2016 to 5 years in prison for violating probation multiple times, only served 8 days due to the probation counting towards his sentence. He was indicted once again on felony theft charges that were increased due to a 2013 forgery conviction. The Dallas Express reported.
Oh, my gosh.
Citing court records, he pleaded guilty in 2021 and was sentenced to 2 days in jail. So this is a man who wouldn't know character if it came up and slapped him in the head, which it probably should.
Yeah, that's insane.
By the way, he, of course, brought up the black struggle.
And that is your constitutional right? It's people out here reminding us of the black struggle in America.
So,
yep.
Nobody is denying Carmelo Anthony should get a fair trial. Nobody is. So why is he bringing up the black struggle? He's bringing up the black struggle because he knows that more than likely Carmelo Anthony, in my opinion, there's not a court that is going to find him innocent. I can't imagine there's a jury that's going to find him innocent.
How? You can't even argue self-defense because you should have never brought the knife onto school property in the first place. So the whole self-defense argument is out the window immediately. Had he killed Austin Metcalf with his hands, then you could probably make at least attempt to make the self-defense claim, but he had a weapon that shouldn't have been there in the first place.
He absolutely did. So, I mean, we'll have to see what happens, and we'll go from there.
That's crazy.
Anyway.
Yep.
Beat up a 2-year-old.
Yeah, beat up. So let's talk about character, shall we? Anyway.
Those kind of people, like, how do you let that guy out of jail and you only gave him probation?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that needs to be, if you are a vile enough person to beat up somebody that can't defend themselves, be it a 2-year-old, or you see these cases where they're beating up elderly, it's like, no, that's a long time. You got to go to jail for a long time.
Absolutely. And, you'd think, of course, that the family would choose a better representative to speak for them, but he comes in and he's a minister and he's I think he's like supposed to be the new Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson or whatever.
He probably cut them a good deal to be their spokesperson as long as he can plug his Global Action Network. What is it?
Well, yeah, it's I don't even know and I don't even care. Maybe he needed to say it more.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. One of the parts, and I don't have time to play it now, but one of the parts of all this was that he kept trying to get people to donate to the Give, Send, Go campaign. And obviously the reason why is because he wants to get paid.
I saw somebody online say something that was very, very smart, saying with those Give, Send, Goes, if you are the accused, there should be a legal stipulation that the money can only be used for court fees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anything else that is above and beyond what the court fees cost, should you lose your court case, should go to the families of the victim.
Yep.
And we should pass legislation like that.
All right. It's
they'll get around it.
8:55 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. I like that one. Is that the new news bed?
I hit the wrong.
That's gangster.
Wait, was that legit like a mess up? Was that a Danurism?
That was a Danurism. That's exactly. I got a lot of audio that I'm trying to control in here. KGB.
Can we just use it as the news bed for fun?
I like it.
Sure.
Play the whole thing.
Absolutely. Joan, what's coming up in the news?
We'll tell you what a woman did to fight off an attacker along a running trail this week. Also is giving a whip to a lawmaker whip insensitive. We'll take a look at that controversy that's taking place. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, those stories coming up here at 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
$8:56. The weather in Middle Tennessee, it can get crazy, of course, which is why you need a backup home standby generator from my friends at the Generator Superstore, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. You can get a free quote and get peace of mind when you have one installed. The Generator Supercenter does feature expert installation and 24-hour monitoring. They're not going to leave you in the dark. If the power goes out in your neighborhood, your house is going to have power, and your lights are going to be on. Financing, of course, is available. 615-879-1952. 615-879-1952. The website, GeneratorSupercenterofNashville.com.